Jox, Conrad, Molly, Landrum, I'm Pat with you until 2 o'clock. So much to get into on this Thursday. We will continue the conversation if you're listening to Mac and Cube this morning. The ongoing controversy that is Hugh Freeze's golf game. We won't spend a lot of time on it, but we will talk a little bit about it the first part of the show. Coming up at the bottom of the hour, Keith Donovan, college football historian, longtime friend of mine. He has done documentaries on college football. He has written books about Bart Starr. He's written one book that came out about 20 years ago, but tomorrow is the anniversary, Landrum. 1984 was the year. Tomorrow will be the anniversary of the Supreme Court slapping down the NCAA in regards to their television contracts, which it allowed all conferences in 1984 to begin negotiating directly with the networks. And that's where we are today, because obviously with ESPN having the deal now with the SEC, Fox having the deal with the Big Ten. His book's called The 50-Year Seduction in regards to college football and television. So we will talk to him at the bottom of the hour. Next hour, a lot of recruiting. We will obviously have Rodney Orr on the program, Rob Pate, get his feelings on Hugh Freeze's golf game. 12:30, Molly is in Nebraska over the weekend, so we're going to do Molly's Movie Minute coming up at 12:30. Then at 1 o'clock, Evie Van Pelt from the Rebel Walk will join the program. So a lot to get into.
Yeah, Keith Donovan's always it's a fun visit. And if you've never heard Keith and whatever he's talking about, but just a storyteller, historian, and you learn so much, for sure. Back to the golf game. Do you think he's an interlock or an overlap?
I'm not sure.
Surely he's not baseball, right?
You would be a better person.
Well,
I've
I've never really looked at his grip or his swing. But
do you interlock?
Hopefully, if he's playing, I interlock now. I used to not. It was really, really uncomfortable, and then I got so frustrated. I said, "Well, maybe this will help me hit it straighter," and it actually did.
Well, that's the problem. So I played baseball my whole life, so
yes.
So I do not interlock. I hold it like I do a baseball bat.
Yeah, less risk play when you interlock. But look at Molly. Mm-hmm.
I interlock too. I need to.
What do you do, Conrad?
I interlock it.
Okay.
I had to learn how to do that.
I guess I'm the outlier. Yeah, it's okay.
Well, I was just always told not to hold it like a baseball club or a baseball bat, so I tried really hard.
I was fortunate enough to play golf one day with Lee Trevino.
Well, that's pretty big.
He was in town. Paul and I had an opportunity. We played out at Shoal Creek. And
did you get struck by lightning?
No, I did not. But on the first tee, as I was teeing off immediately, because Trevino likes to talk, like a lot.
Like during his swing?
Like a lot. And as soon as I swung, he just started laughing. He said, "You played baseball your entire life, haven't you?" And I said,
"Isn't that amazing?"
I said, "I have." He goes, "See it every time."
Yep. Trevino, he's one of those guys. He will talk to you as he's swinging, or he encourages people to make noise.
Oh, and listen, and being able to be around him a lot during the old Bruno's Memorial Classic days, just wait till you get on the back nine at Greystone. That's when the conversations get real salty.
I told you the time that I went into a par 3. It was down on the Gulf Coast, and this is many years ago when I was a kid, me and my brother. And we went into the pro shop, and there was a thunderstorm that had just popped up. And I looked on the wall, and there's all these Lee Trevino, whatever. And I said something to the effect of, "Yeah, didn't he get struck by lightning because there was a thunderstorm outside?" And he goes, "Yeah, not only once, but Dad got struck. It was his son, Tony Lee, that was actually running the golf place there."
Yep.
But yeah, Lee Trevino.
He used to love coming to Birmingham and playing in the Bruno's Memorial Classic. Just really, really a funny guy, good golfer. But
one of those characters, though, that made golf what it was in that era.
There's no doubt. Want to thank everyone at the Edge last night, the Birmingham Squadron. We had a great time, great interaction with a lot of our listeners that was able to come out. It ended up being a really nice weather night. At the beginning, it rained, but then it left, and it was not cool, but it definitely was not 100 degrees outside. So it was a great time being able to watch the NBA draft and hang out with the guys from the Birmingham Squadron and 18 South, just incredible store, and Patrick Isbell and his wife just doing just an incredible job, not only with her at the edge, but they're storing Trustful, so we appreciate their
Yes,
partnership
for sure.
that we've had with them from day one. But last night in the draft, no big surprise. No Alabama or Auburn player was drafted. That was expected. Tonight, we anticipate that Janai Broome will be the first player from the state of Alabama that will be off the board. So he is listed, I think, Conrad, the 10th best pick right now, according to insiders?
10th best available, and Mark Sears is 31st, and Grant Nelson's 32nd.
Okay. So we might see them playing for the Birmingham Squadron.
It was so fascinating just getting to visit with Coach TJ Saint and kind of picking his brain about the draft and certain qualities that clubs are looking for in a player. And now I think I maybe better understand the translation of I'm a really, really good college player to, well, you could be fine in the NBA, but maybe not exactly what we're looking for. But hopefully Janai and the other guys for the state that are draft eligible will get drafted and sign contracts.
So 5 players from the SEC, they were selected in the first round of the draft. Trey Johnson, Jeremiah Fears, Colin Murray Bowles had his little oops moment during the broadcast. Walter Clayton Jr. and Asa Newell. Those are the only SEC players that went the first round. And it is now officially over. The first round dominance of the Kentucky Wildcats has died. The first time since 2009 that Kentucky did not have a player that was taken in the first round of the NBA draft. It's over.
That's a really impressive run.
And for what it's worth, it didn't follow Coach Cal because Arkansas didn't have anybody drafted in the first round. So it's not like he took that with him.
Amazing. Since 2009, the University of Kentucky had a player taken in the first round of the NBA draft.
And think about how many of those guys were freshmen.
And think about how many of them have been really good in the NBA as well.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Almost all of them.
So round 2 is tonight. It will begin with pick number 31. So if you're keeping score at home, so the NBA draft will continue today. Only 2 rounds. And then people like TJ Saint, they'll have to all of a sudden start trying to formulate their plans on what they're going to do in regards to putting a G League roster together.
I know that you gave the thank you to the squadron, and I want to echo that. And thank Gabe, who listens to our show, who hooked us up with some really cool gear. And I thought about wearing the aviators in today, but also Dawson. So thank you very much. They're listening.
Yeah, everybody's got squadron gear on except me.
Well, that's okay.
You didn't get the memo.
I didn't. I must not have been on that text string, but that's okay.
He's wearing his golf hat.
Looks good. He's got a great shirt from 18 South on.
Well, it's just a constant tease for something we're going to talk about during the show. It's great.
I didn't think about that, but thank you.
You're welcome.
For tying that all in.
That's great. Great plan.
So if you were listening to the Paul Feinberg show yesterday, the very first guest out of the gate, just like if you were listening to Mac and Cube a few minutes ago, Michael Casagrande, outstanding writer, columnist for AL.com. He was on Paul's show, and he was talking about how they did a little work down at AL.com, and they had come across a post on Auburn Live on their message board. And I'm just going to read a portion of the original post that got Michael Casagrande and Matt Stahl from AL.com to start digging into Hugh Freeze. It was talking about how Hugh Freeze has played golf 10 of the first 20 days this month. I know people that are retired that don't get to play that much, let alone making $7 million a year. Not blaming our struggles on this, but goodness, when you're under 500 here and ranked 47th in recruiting, by the way, update, that's now 83rd in recruiting, not 47th. I have concerns. Also know for a fact he played the day after we lost to Vanderbilt. I understand this is an insane behavior for me to have dove into this, and I do not care. When I have friends tell me he is on the course every day as an SEC head football coach, I'm going to investigate. Just pretend like you're working harder than you actually are because I am tired of losing. If he starts winning, let him play every day of the week.
Yeah. Well, it goes back to you want to be hateful and you want to be mean and pick on people at press conferences, you better be winning. You want to do fun tweets through social media, you better be winning. Otherwise, everything that you do is going to be scrutinized. But I just cannot imagine, in talking with former coaches like we do, Pat, the demand of being an SEC head football coach. Doesn't matter the school, but especially at a place like Auburn, especially at a place like Alabama. and the day-to-day. And look, if you can make it all work, you can make it all work, but you're going to get criticism if things aren't going well on the recruiting trail. That's an easy one to pick on.
So Michael Casagrande, as he told Mac and Cube this morning, he simply searched the United States Golf Association's database of golf scores because you post the scores because that's how you come up with your handicap.
Got an app.
Yeah. Freeze has recorded 10 rounds of golf in the first 20 days of June in the database that tracks official handicaps. He's played 10 rounds in June and at least 20 since the start of the 2025 calendar year. Now, AL.com's Matt Stahl also searched the rest of the SEC coaching tree and found a few entered score for rounds played this year, but none have logged as much course time as Hugh Freeze. It has also been, I guess, amplified because Auburn has lost 3 recruits in the last few weeks. So that has gotten a lot of people to point the finger and say, what's going on here? Why have we lost this? Is it because you care more about your handicap than trying to put together a winning recruiting class?
And it hurts even more when you have the realization that now it's the dead period for recruiting, and you probably have a lot of people going, why have you been playing golf for the last 3 weeks instead of recruiting, when now, if you were playing golf, no one's going to care because it's a dead period.
Longtime Auburn writer, I call him a historian, just like we call Keith Donovan, Philip Marshall from Auburn Undercover. In his article this morning, he had a little blurb about this Freeze golf story. I will read directly what Philip Marshall had to say. He says, this is the biggest non-story out there that there might be about Freeze and his golf game. Believe it or not, coaches don't work 24 hours a day. They find time to get away for a few hours now and then. These days, regardless of where they are, they can be reached at any time or make calls at any time. For some, it's playing around a golf. For others, it's making time for wives and children. Every coach is different. Athlon, the king of quoting unnamed sources stating explosive opinions, wrote an entire story based on what unidentified fan thought about Freeze playing golf. Auburn baseball coach Butch Thompson lives on a golf course and plays most days. It didn't seem to hurt anything for his team this season. It is fair to criticize Freeze for games that he could have or should have won, but none of those games were lost, nor were recruits lost because he spent time playing golf. End of quote from Philip Marshall. The only thing that I will point out that he did not bring up is that Butch Thompson did not finish below 500. And yeah, he can live on a golf course, but obviously he's been able to take his golf game and him being the head coach of the Auburn Tigers, and it's been successful. It has not been for Hugh Freeze at Auburn. Now, just like Landrum said, I have plenty of friends in the coaching business, and they told me he played a ton of golf at Liberty, but he was able to wrangle his golf game and have winning a program at Liberty. But it's a little bit different coaching in the Southeastern Conference.
It's a lot different, let's be honest.
Yeah, than coaching at Liberty. But so he didn't stop playing golf just because he took the Auburn job. He was very well known to play a lot of golf at Liberty as the head coach.
And I think what we're all saying, if you can balance that, that's fine. But if you're not having success on the recruiting trail, if you're losing games, people don't think that's going to be an easy target, and that's going to be the first thing that people point out, and that's what's been done here.
Well, and it's different, but it's, I guess, kind of similar to last year with Alabama, right? And they have ice cream at practice, and Kalen DeBoer is wearing this and that. And it was funny and like, oh, that's not a big deal. But then they start losing games, and what do you start hearing? Well, maybe it's because of the way that he dresses on the sideline, or because they're soft and they give kids ice cream at practice. And it's just one of those things where the optics of it aren't great. Is it that big of a deal? No, I don't think so. But you can understand where people would be upset about it. And it's, if you struggle early on in the season, it's going to be brought up is this why Auburn struggled? And
I know it's stressful. I'm sure it is, being an SEC head coach, and everybody needs a stress reliever. It's Philip pointed out, everybody needs some time away. It's a stress reliever for me. Even if I'm playing bad golf, I'm playing golf, and it's a chance to kind of just refresh my mind and just be out there with Mother Nature. And hey, if I hit a good shot, that's great. But if I don't, hey, you know what? I'm playing golf.
It is kind of funny that he almost unintentionally, Philip Marshall, with what he wrote in his article, of some people prioritize golf and some people prioritize spending time with their family. So it's kind of taking a shot at Hugh Freeze.
That's
there.
why.
Oh, so you care about golf, but not your family.
Here's the key. Here's the key, fellas, in case you hadn't figured it out. Get your wife involved in playing golf.
Yeah, they like to ride around in the cart.
And one of the most
Even if they don't
famous
play.
coaches in the history of the Southeastern Conference and one of the most successful of all time was Steve Spurrier. And Steve Spurrier played as much golf as anyone. Trust me. I know that for a fact. Played golf with him. I mean, yeah.
Drank a lot of Mountain Dew.
Yes. Loves Mountain Dew on the golf course. Or I should say the Mountain Dew can on the golf course.
The Mountain. My question is, is he getting better, Hugh, with his rounds?
I don't know. What is the
His low is a 78.
wow.
That's
Wow.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw it seemed I think most of them were like low to mid 80s, but his high was 70 or
And he's
low.
he's
was
playing Moore's
78.
Mill, and that's a course that I played, and it's a really nice course, a good course there in Auburn. I know that Jason Duffner he plays there. I think there's different courses that he plays, but it's a good course. It's not an easy course by any means.
Maybe if this coaching thing doesn't work out for Hugh, that he'll be on the senior tour.
Oh, I was thinking Champions Tour.
Yeah.
That'd be nice.
Well, his golf score is better than his recruiting ranking right now.
It is.
Yeah.
Maybe he'll get thrown in the pool here pretty soon.
Maybe.
As of this morning, they're 84th in recruiting according to 247. Bama is 34th. So there you go. We will talk the Alabama side of things coming up at 11 o'clock with Rodney Orr. More three-man front. Keith Donovan at the bottom of the hour. This is Jox. 10:20. This is Jox. This is Three Man Front.
This could be my home run song.
Every song we play on this show has a meaning.
Yeah, it does.
You got to keep up. Got to
Yep.
pay attention.
There's intent with everything that is played.
Listen to the lyrics very carefully.
Well, the Alabama heat and humidity can be brutal, but don't let it affect your home and family. Keep them comfortable with an affordable Train cooling system. They've been recognized as America's most trusted brand for 11 consecutive years, and they're the official cooling partner here at Jox. So go and find a comfort specialist near you at train.com.
Well, it wasn't a very good night as we were out at the Edge in Homewood for me and Landrum as our favorite baseball teams took it on the chin last night. Cardinals got shut out by the Cubs. Meanwhile, the Mets finally did something that they have not done very much since 2022, and that's defeat the Atlanta Braves. But they did last night, 7-3. It was a rough start for Fuentes. 3 1/3 innings pitched, 8 hits, 6 runs, no base on balls, 1 strikeout, 2 home runs, though. Juan Soto went yard twice in the game for the Mets. It was the second win for the Mets in the past 12 games and their first in 6 games this season against the Braves. So the Braves tonight, they will wrap up the 4-game set with the New York Metropolitans. Grant Holmes will be on the mound. He's 3-6, a 3.97 ERA. He's going up against Griffin Canning, who is 7-3, 3.91 ERA in the finale of this 4-game series.
Besides injuries and the necessity to have an arm that can go out there, what do you think, just guessing, the strategy is for running a Didier Fuentes out? I know he's he's got good stuff.
Mm-hmm. Just needs work. I mean, he needs more minor league time.
He does. And how often is it, though, because of unfamiliarity with a catcher and a pitcher, especially in his situation, coming in and being young and maybe not be willing to shake off when deep down he's thinking maybe I should throw another pitch?
Well, I'm thinking obviously with Murphy behind the plate, I mean, that's big because Murphy's a veteran. I mean, Murphy has gone up against the Mets a few times in that lineup, so he can help there more than anything. Listen, I can just speak for watching my Cardinals through the years. If you throw out a guy that is a rookie and that's only been in the league for a couple of starts, we're going to be screwed. Like, we do not handle that very well at all. So to me, just based on the baseball that I watch from my team, I would think that Fuentes would have the upper edge because there's not a book out yet exactly on him, kind of like a new hitter that comes up and he's hitting 400 in his first couple weeks in the majors. But once that book gets written and the scouts start finding out, okay, well, he's got a hole here, he doesn't like the breaking ball, or the cutter is a problem, then all of a sudden things change. But for the Braves, they're going to have to do something. If they want to continue to contend, they're going to have to get some help in regards from starting rotation. Because if you get to the playoffs and you can throw Sale and Strider, that's a problem for anybody.
Yeah.
In a short series.
3-game series.
That is a huge, huge problem. So for Atlanta, they need somebody. And I hate to say this, and you might disagree with me, Charlie Morton would look really good on that rotation right now.
Boy, wouldn't he? All 42 years of him, but he's still got stuff.
You need innings.
Not having Ray Lopez has certainly hurt, and he hasn't been available all season. That's the guy you're counting on. Now with Sale going down, Strider seems like he's starting to get his sea legs back, and that was expected to be a little bit of a delay coming off the injury. We got Big Perm pitching for us today, Grant Holmes.
The other thing about the Braves, and I'm not as educated as I can just look at the analytics and the numbers in regards to their farm system, and it is not one of the best in baseball because they have traded away a lot of their equity to be able to get people like Sean Murphy and Olsen and players like that. That's paid huge dividends. But I just don't know what they have to potentially offer to be able to go get one of those number 3 or 4 starters.
Yeah, because in the past, you look at their farm system and you would hear, when is Austin Riley? Austin Riley, it's his time. And then we know what Austin Riley has become, but it doesn't seem like there is that guy that's there. Nacho Alvarez, we saw him a little bit last year, but as far as pitching goes, you're right, Pat. You got to go out. If you can get a reliever, that would be great to help bolster that way that you're not depending on Dylan Lee every night in that role. But got to have a solid starter.
Now, this has not been updated since the end of May, but the Atlanta Braves have the 26th ranked minor league system in all of baseball. That's not good.
No, because this is normally when you see teams go the opposite direction. They sell off all their guys to rebuild that farm system.
So the top 100 prospects, according to Major League Baseball Pipeline, and this was done last month, they had two. Number 62, Drake Baldwin, who is obviously now on the parent club. And at number 88 in the top 100 is Cam Caminiti. That's it. That's all the Braves have in the top 100. So if you're an opposing team and you're like going, okay, what do you have to offer here? You know, if you want, they don't have anything. And that's a problem. Now, on the other end of the stick, you got Detroit. They're the number one farm system in all of baseball. And so now they have the best record in baseball, and Detroit now has plenty to work with in regards to going out and getting a couple of pieces that they need. They need a closer. They need a third baseman. Whatever they need, they have got the properties that they can trade and get whatever they want. The Braves, that's the problem. Then you start looking at their current roster. Like, what do we have that we could give up, but we could still be competitive and be a wild card team? And that's, you would have a better idea of that than I would. But just looking from a minor league standpoint, it's a problem for Atlanta.
It is. And going back to pitching, Smith Shawver, that seemed like he was going to be that guy. Unfortunately, I don't know. I don't know if there's a real answer. But in the meantime, you got to buy at the trade deadline. Who are you willing to give up? I would think Sean Murphy would be one guy. I know that's a lot to put on a Drake Baldwin, but if you could get rid of him, and I know that this is sacrilege to some Braves fans, but Ozzie Albies, if somebody would be willing to. I just don't think that's going to happen. So Ozuna, maybe.
So the only franchises that have, according to MLB Pipeline, a weaker minor league system is the Toronto Blue Jays, San Francisco Giants, Houston Astros, Los Angeles Angels. Yeah, that's it.
And Michael Harris, we know what he has been and how good he is in the field, but I don't know if he needs corrective lenses.
I sent this to Pat this morning. According to Fangraphs, he's the most clutch player in baseball this season, based on their metrics. I don't know. I don't know how they come up with that list, but he is.
Is that all in the field?
Hey, he robbed that home run last night, so
that's what I'm saying. He's been all-star worthy in the field in center, but at the plate, let's get those. Some of those swings are just. Woo.
And the team that I just mentioned behind the Braves that come in with the 28th weakest is the San Francisco Giants, and that's why they went and got Devers.
Yeah.
And they're going all in, and they will pay the money. They'll do whatever's necessary. And let's just be honest, the pieces that they gave back to Boston, that's what ticked everyone off in Boston. It's like Jordan Hicks got an ERA in the 6s. I think they got obviously the number one pick of the Giants in last year's amateur draft. He went back to Boston. That's a good piece.
But let's be honest, they got a discount because Boston was tired of him. Yeah,
they were tired of him, and they said, you know what? If you're willing to eat this entire contract, let's just wipe the slate clean the Excel spreadsheet out. Let's move on. And that's exactly what Boston did. So
guys like Alcantara, that's just going to demand too much money because he signed that big deal. He's the highest paid player on the Marlins roster.
Oh, yeah, it'll take a haul to get somebody like that.
Yeah. But it will be here before you know it. Trade deadline right around the corner. When we come back on three-man front, Keith Donovan, outstanding author, college football historian. He's going to join the program. We're going to talk about the local television deals for the SEC and the Big Ten and the days in history that got us to the point where we are today, in which money, big shock, is absolutely controlling in television the game of college football. That is next on this three-man front on Jox. The 50-year seduction, how television manipulated college football, the birth of the modern NCAA, and the creation of what we see now in the college football playoff. We will talk to the author of that book, Keith Donovan. He will join the program momentarily as we'll get his thoughts on where college football currently stands and the way television was changed back in 1984.
I deal with stuff at my house just like a lot of you do. That's just a part of being a homeowner. But one thing I don't have to deal with is bugs inside of my home and the stinging insects and the stuff in my yard that you don't want around for your family, your friend, your guest when they're coming to hang out with you. Stark Exterminators is an awesome company. Over 61 years, they've been family owned. That resonates with me, and I'm sure a lot of you, it resonates with you as well. They're relationship people. 100% of your satisfaction is guaranteed. And Stark Exterminators will send a professional, courteous team member to your home, your place of business. They'll perform that free pest inspection, and they'll address any current issues that you have, and they'll look at any issues down the road that could come up and make sure that you're protected. Stark Exterminators, 100%, once again, of your satisfaction is guaranteed. Call today for the free home or business pest inspection, 855-STARK now, or go to starkexterminators.com. And as always, tell them Landrum from Three Man Front and Jox sent you.
So tomorrow is an anniversary. Tomorrow, back in 1984, the U.S. Supreme Court ended the NCAA's monopoly on college football telecasts. And what a better person to talk about that situation and where we currently are in the grand scheme of college football and the television world is the author, great documentarian, college football historian, just an overall great guy. Keith Donovan joins us here on Three Man Front. Keith, it's been too long. I hope you're doing well, my friend.
Doing great. Hope you guys are.
We're doing so well. Well, the first thing I thought of when I saw that the anniversary was coming up, I said, we need to get Keith on because you wrote the book, The 50-Year Seduction, How Television Manipulated College Football from the Birth of the Modern NCAA to the Creation of the BCS. And in this book, for those that love the history of college football, it is a must read because for those that have not been able to read it or it's been a while, just kind of refamiliarize our listeners with that book and just the genesis of it and I guess the general theme in which many people would be shocked at where college football was and where it is today.
Well, of course, I was a college football writer for the National in the early 90s in New York and was writing about, I was a young guy in my 20s at that point and was writing about Notre Dame breaking away from the College Football Association package, and which is what gave the beginning of all the conference realignment. And I started looking at the history of that stuff, which I had written about some, actually when I was a young guy working at the Birmingham Post-Herald back in the 80s when I was in college. And started trying to connect all those dots, and that's what eventually led to the book, The 50-Year Seduction, which I started writing in 1991. And for those who don't realize that, the world before June 1984 was a completely different place in college football terms. Back in the olden days, before 1982, you actually had one game on Saturday. One game on Saturday. Then they expanded it so that you had two games on Saturday. Well, for a number of reasons, a lot of the powers, particularly those in the SEC, the Southwest Conference, ACC, et cetera, wanted more television appearances and they wanted a better cut of the money. And so that led to a lawsuit led by the University of Oklahoma and the University of Georgia. That was decided, in June 27, 1984, and that was the earthquake, and I mean earthquake, that created the modern era. Because not only you've had all this conference realignment that has been driven by that, you can draw a straight line between that and the NIL, but of course, for the fan standpoint, the main thing that means is that you can sit all day and watch college football and not leave the confines of your home. Well, that's because of a small group of rebels that rebelled against the NCAA starting in 1981. Otherwise, we would be a completely different place in terms of college football television.
And Keith, you outline it there in the book, and you touched on it there in your answer to the question. But what about the television contracts? What created the reluctance among the universities where maybe they couldn't see the big picture and eventually where it would go?
It wasn't so much the universities; it was the NCAA. So you go back in the early 1950s. In 1951, television was just getting started, and it was primarily a phenomenon of the East Coast at that point. But you had free television, and you had two universities, Notre Dame and University of Pennsylvania, who had network contracts. And there was a study that showed that people were staying home to watch these games on television, and there were other teams that were doing local games. For instance, Georgia Tech was putting their games on in television in Atlanta, and UCLA was doing that in Los Angeles. So literally, the athletic officials were afraid that if we allow free television, then we're not going to be able to sell tickets. That was a huge fear. And so the funny thing about it is that fear created the power of the NCAA. You can draw a line between that and all of the power that the NCAA exerted for the next 30 plus years was because they seized control of television. So we come forward to the modern age, and you basically had two camps regarding television. You had the NCAA camp that was supported by the teams of the Big Ten and the Pac-10 at that point, who wanted the status quo. They wanted very restricted television, one game on per week, then 2 games per week. And then you had the forces who were saying, like, particularly with cable coming along, we can support more television. That was the College Football Association. And so the College Football Association challenged this. They went out and signed a big contract in 1981 with NBC. Well, long story short, that contract never came about because the NCAA threatened to put all of those schools, if you sign that contract, we're going to put you on probation. That was literally the threat at that point. We're gonna put a gun to your head if you sign that contract. This is how serious this stuff was at that point. Well, so it became a lawsuit at that point, and slightly less than 3 years later, the Supreme Court ruled, of course, that the NCAA was engaged in illegal activity, and that created the freedom that we have today. So they're literally, if you appreciate the fact that you can sit home today and watch college football all day on Saturday, there's a small group of men who push that, and they're mostly forgotten.
Talking to Keith Donovan, college football historian, author, documentarian, overall just a fantastic resource when it comes to the history of college football, joins us here on Three Man Front. So I'm just very curious where we currently are with things. Obviously, the Big Ten is heavily invested by Fox Television, ESPN, Disney, with the ACC and the Southeastern Conference. Just your thoughts on the tail wagging the dog now when it comes to TV in these conferences.
Well, I just have to point out one particular. I mentioned that you had these two opposing camps. Well, the Big Ten was very much for the status quo. They did not want free television. People need to understand that. The Big Ten was very much against free television. Well, time can change things, right?
Yeah.
They now are, of course, one of the primary people who benefit from this change. The tail is totally wagging the dog. The networks call all the shots, and the money is just incredible. It's unimaginable. And the other thing is that in the mid '80s, when I was in college at Alabama, after the decision, for about a decade, the freedom created a lot of red ink. All of the schools wanted this additional money to help balance the books. Alabama, for instance, was running a $2+ million deficit at that point, and it got worse because television rights fees went down. But eventually, the market righted itself, and so now here we are. And television completely wags the dog, and NIL is a direct result of this. And the transfer portal, obviously, those two things working together. None of this would have been possible but for the earthquake of 1984.
Keith, now with streaming, I'm just curious, and you've benchmarked this and following the evolution of coverage when it comes to college football. What do you believe is the next big thing pertaining to TV deals, the coverage, streaming, etc.?
Well, I think the next big deal is, I think within 5 years, we're going to see a players union.
Well,
I think the money is going to keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and the competition for it is just going to get more competitive. And I think the players are in control, and there's going to be a fight over the resources.
Yeah, it's happening.
Dartmouth men's basketball was ahead of the curve.
Yeah, I mean, just everywhere you turn, there's a new NCAA lawsuit. So who would have thought, Keith, that 1984 lose the NCAA, that was the start of a losing streak for the NCAA, because I could probably count on one hand since then that they have actually won in a federal courthouse in regards to them going up against schools or players.
That's true, and I'll just point out also that I blame the NCAA for there are all sorts of, we could argue about the points about certainly college football deserved greater freedom, and the players certainly deserve to make whatever they want to make. That's not the issue, but the NCAA, I blame them for not trying to solve this problem. Walter Byers was the head of the NCAA at that point, and he was a great negotiator for the colleges with the networks. However, his strengths were the natural opposite of his weaknesses. He treated his members like subjects, and if he had been willing to negotiate and make a deal, we might be in a very different universe right now.
Keith, before we let you go, you are a University of Alabama graduate. You have written some of the biggest selling books in the history of Alabama football, whether it was Coach, The Life of Paul Bear Bryant. You wrote about Bart Starr, outstanding quarterback at Alabama, and, of course, NFL Hall of Famer with the Packers. You wrote about the missing ring. So I'm just curious, your thoughts on season number 1 in the books for Kalen DeBoer.
Well, he was bound to be a transition year for him. I think he came out of it a pretty, not knocked up too bad, but he's having to deal in an environment that where the game is changing, where he has to deal with the shadow of Nick Saban. I wouldn't envy him, but I think the jury's still out. But I think he's got a chance to put his mark on things.
Keith Dunavant, outstanding visit as always. Just a wealth of knowledge and the 50-year seduction. And I saw where the editorial reviews you were called basically the NCAA-ologist, which I think that's high praise for sure.
Well, that's very flattering and good to be with you guys today.
Put that on a business card, Keith. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks, Keith.
You bet. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Keith Dunavant joining us as all of our guests do on the Higginbotham Hotline. You deserve solutions that are built for you. Higginbotham is your one-source solution for insurance, financial, and HR services. So
on my way to work this morning, I saw 2 APS trucks on the highway, and they were heading to someone's home because someone called 205-951-9717, or they went to alabamaprofessional.com. Whether you've got some issues around your house, whether it's your foundation, whether it's some leaking in your basement, your crawl space needs properly encapsulated, they can handle all of that at APS. Simply call them at 205-951-9717. Established in 1977 to solve the most challenging issues around your home. Let APS take care of those problems. They can give you the peace of mind. The largest investment you're ever going to have is your home. Take care of it. And if you see those warning signs around the house, cracking foundation, uneven sidewalks, your door's not closing right, call APS today, 205-951-9717.
Digesting what Keith Dunavant just told us. We'll do it next on Three Man Front, Jox.
Great conversation with Keith Dunavant, author, historian, college football. Tomorrow is the anniversary of the Supreme Court ruling back in 1984, in which they struck down the NCAA, saying that schools and conferences could negotiate their own television deals. And, of course, the College Football Association, remember that, the CFA. I know that was always big with Keith Jackson and ABC. You know, the SEC was part of the College Football Association.
Well, just think about how far television has come in the last 10 years and what you have availability wise. And remember the SEC network and the launch of that.
Mm-hmm.
That was huge, and it still is. But I remember as a kid growing up, you turn on ABC, most likely, and this was more in my teenage years, you would get Florida State.
Mm-hmm.
There was an FSU game every single Saturday.
And it should be. I mean, they were always top three team.
It was one of those brands at the time, and they knew that they'd get eyeballs. If you're looking for a pontoon boat this summer, Poorhouse Branch Marina at Smith Lake is the only dealer on the lake to have the Avalon pontoons. Avalon pontoons are known for luxury, comfort, and performance, and you pair it with the most fuel-efficient engine on the water from Honda Marine. Poorhouse Branch Marina at Smith Lake also has Tahoe pontoons ready for family fun. Get it today with in-house financing. See it all at PoorhouseBranchMarina.com.
So Ronald Acuna Jr. got his invite yesterday to the Home Run Derby, and he accepted. He had given an interview a couple of days ago where he said that he would love the opportunity to hit home runs on the Home Run Derby in his own stadium. So the Derby is the day before the All-Star Game, which Acuna also hopes to be a part of. It appears that he has a good chance of doing that. He has been an All-Star in each of his previous 4 full seasons in the majors. It'll be the third time that Acuna has participated in the Home Run Derby. He lost to Mets slugger Pete Alonso by 1 homer in 2019, and he lost again to Alonso in the first round of 2022. So he hopes to kind of change that.
Please don't pull an oblique.
Yeah, that would not be good. Not good at all.
We're going to go watch it.
I'm waiting for you. You're the one that's got Braves contacts. Like, what are we doing? We're in Atlanta that whole week.
I know.
Hey,
hook us up.
I'm going to put him on the air. Just put him on the spot tomorrow.
Okay.
With Barrett.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think we should go. And
do
if you
too.
can't swing free tickets, I think you should pay for all 3 of us to go.
I mean, it's just like when
Pat.
the SEC. Yeah, what?
Daddy.
I'm getting the T-shirt. So you have a situation where we'll be there. What, me and you'll be there Sunday through Wednesday?
Yeah, we're going to be there.
Conrad will stay an extra day.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if he's coming home because the Yankees are in town on Friday.
Yeah, I'm still trying to figure out that.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
I know. But I don't want to come back and then go back to that. We'll see. We'll see.
Kansas City Royals shortstop moments ago, Bobby Witt Jr., he has confirmed that he will play for Team USA in the 2026 World Baseball Classic. That's big. That's huge for the American roster.
Bobby!
He only got 2 at-bats in the 2023 World Baseball Classic.
I think he'll get a few more now.
I think he is. So the Team USA's done
Blame Shohei.
They've done a lot of recruiting.
I was about to say, you got Skeens, you got Witt, you got Aaron Judge.
Judge is the captain, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, yes, Pat.
Oh.
As he should be.
Yeah.
Trey Turner?
I have not seen his name.
Yeah, I don't know if
He
he's
played in
doing
the
it
last
again.
one.
He did.
Yeah, he had that big home run.
Mm-hmm. He did. Coming up next, we'll get an update on Alabama recruiting. And the Firecracker 5 has been released by Tighter Insiders. Rodney Orr will talk to him about that next. It is hour number 2. Welcome back. This is Three Man Front on Jox. Pat Landrum, Molly Conrad with you until 2 o'clock. Rodney Orr this hour along with Rob Pate. Next hour, we will do some Molly's Movie Minute. She is out of town tomorrow, so we're going to do it a day early. And as of this moment, you can go on the Three Man Front Twitter page, and we're asking you, as we typically do on Fridays, but we're asking you today on a Thursday, what movie should Molly watch and review for next week? And I'm curious, Landrum, have you seen Norbit?
No, I've never seen Norbit.
Have you seen Masters of the Universe?
Yes. It's been a long time.
Have you seen The Lost Boys?
Yes.
Have you seen Teen Wolf?
I loved Teen Wolf as
Especially
a kid.
the last scene in the movie. I understand. That's what someone told me.
Oh, yeah. I liked, the cars, the van surfing that he would do with Styles. Styles would drive him around, and then he would do the surfing, and then that turned in, unfortunately, to a social media trend, and then people started getting hurt doing it in actual life.
Yep. So you can go vote to see which movie, and as of this moment, and I feel pretty confident with only an hour and 29 minutes left in the voting, that The Lost Boys will be the movie that Molly will have to watch and review for next week. Conrad was hoping it was Norbit, but unfortunately, Norbit is going to fall short. It's in third place.
Lost Boys, yeah.
Well, Lost Boys is bad. I was going to say Norbit may be the worst movie I've ever seen, but Lost Boys, I hated that movie.
Teen Wolf is actually not a bad movie. I appreciate it because I watched it that was one that.
It's the best out of those 4.
We educated Conrad last night. Conrad had no idea about the final scene of Teen Wolf.
Mm-hmm. And then Pat made me watch it in public.
I did not make you watch anything.
It was embarrassing.
No. You thought I'd made something up.
Yeah, I did think you made it up, and I was, oh, no.
I tell you what,
You did not.
he went from a 2-star to a 5-star on the basketball court when he turned into that wolf.
He sure did. He was outstanding. Speaking of stars, the Firecracker 5. It is an annual tradition. Rodney Orr and Tighter Insider, and it is out hot off the presses about 24 hours ago. Rodney, I hope you're doing well. Man, it's a big day in recruiting, right, for Alabama. Alabama's expecting potentially to get a commitment today, right?
Yeah, perhaps, hopefully, too, if you're an Alabama fan. I mean, with Crowell, E.J. Crowell, the running back, 5-star running back out of Jackson, Alabama, who was part of the Firecracker 5 that we released yesterday. So that's at 6 o'clock or probably 6:20 tonight. It's on the sports on WKRG and Mobile's carrying it live. They're having him in their studio live tonight. So he announces, I think it's at 7:45 tonight, Central Time. Mac Suter from the tight end, 4-star tight end from Dunlap, Illinois. He's supposed to announce his decision. I've got Alabama in that one too. Ohio State and Illinois and several others have recruited him extremely hard, but I think that could be Alabama could pull too today.
So in regards to Crowell, let's go back to him because you have told us about him over the course of the last few weeks. Does he remind you of anybody especially? I mean, this is a 5-star running back.
Yeah. No, I think when you look at him, just his vision is just exceptional. I thought Mark Ingram had a lot of that was one of his great attributes was vision, and can run between the tackles, but also has the ability to kind of take it the distance, at any time. He's kind of a man among boys, to be honest with you, down there at Jackson. They've got a great program, got a ton of great prospects on that team, by the way. But yeah, he's a guy that just like Ryan Williams in the sense that he's reclassified. He's only played a sophomore year in high school. I mean, he was going to be a junior this coming year, and he's reclassified, so he's going a year early. But 5'11", 205, again, runs with power, speed, just seems to have the entire package.
Rodney, not to be specific on Crowell, I'm just thinking in general terms from what you've noticed. NIL era, it's been here for a few years, but based on the last couple of years where that was with a lot of these guys, that was the first thing they asked was what was NIL. Have you seen any difference in this recruiting cycle, especially after the House settlement?
Well, yeah, to me, it was kind of like back those when you're talking about when we first started talking about the NIL. I mean, it was like very prevalent, in terms of you heard about it on all of these major recruitments and all of that. You don't no, you don't. I don't hear about it as much. I think it sometimes when you see a school getting a bunch of players, like maybe people are looking at Texas right now or Michigan, and you're saying, hey, they're pulling an awful lot of guys. I mean, big time guy. I mean, like you look at Michigan last year, they got two five-star offensive tackles, and one of those guys was committed to Alabama, and he was pretty set to come here, Ty Haywood. And now this year, another guy Alabama would love to have, Malachi Lee out of Honolulu, outstanding, one of the top 10, 12 offensive tackles in this class. He makes his decision tomorrow. And kind of the buzz is Michigan or Texas. And Georgia's been in there too. Alabama got visited. And, people are saying, well, they're still working deals. So, but not as much, to be honest with you. I don't hear it quite as much.
Rodney, Pat and I, we do play-by-play on Friday nights, and we see a lot of good high school players here in the state of Alabama. And then there's those guys that you just immediately do a double take and you say, well, he looks different. Sedarian Morgan is a part of that Firecracker Five. He, out of Ben Russell, I got to see him play last year. Boy, he is a talented kid. I don't know how much more room he has to grow, but he's 6'4", I think 215, 220 pounds. What can you tell us about Sedarian Morgan?
Well, I think there's probably more, obviously, but two critical factors, I think, that Kalen DeBoer, Jamarcus Shepard, Ryan Grubb really look for in receivers. And they're going to have some that are going to be smaller, slot-type guys, whatever. But I think that they really look at these guys and they say, okay, height, size, and the ability to stretch the field. That's really two critical factors. And I think when you look at Sedarian Morgan, he has that ability. He has the great height, great size, you mentioned it, and then the ability to get down the field, make plays, get up with contested balls, make plays over defenders, that type of thing. So he just really, and I know some people, the comparison is, Julio Jones a little bit. Now, is he Julio? That's totally a different story. But he's really, really good, obviously. And he might be one of the top, he's definitely one of the top 2 or 3, 4 receivers in the country. And I feel good about it where Alabama stands. I mean, obviously Auburn's been in there, Georgia's been in there, Clemson, various other schools. But he announces on July the 2nd, and I think right now it's going to be good news for Alabama.
Talking to Rodney Orr from Tider Insider, talking about his Firecracker Five as Alabama hoping to close on a couple of these big names, big 5 stars. And I'm going to ask you about another one. His commitment date, his announcements expected coming up on June 29th. And I'm talking about the outstanding 5-star linebacker Xavier Griffin out of Gainesville, Georgia. What can you tell us about Griffin, and is Alabama in good shape for his services?
Yeah, again, he's rated one of the top maybe 2 or 3 linebackers in the country. Some people number 1 linebacker. Texas has been in there really heavily, and then Ohio State, he had a great visit there too. Of course, he went to Florida State last weekend. He's out of Gainesville, Georgia. He's originally from the state of Alabama. I think, his mother's a huge Alabama fan. But so I was talking to my Texas sources about this, and they kind of seem to think now that he's going to end up at Alabama. Just on that end, you like to have a feel from what other people are thinking, and their feel is, or at least it was as of yesterday, they still felt like, okay, he's probably going to end up at Alabama. So feel good about where Alabama stands there. Again, you know how these things work. Anything can change, but so I feel positive about Alabama's chances right now with Xavier Griffin.
Another guy that's on the radar for Kalen DeBoer and his staff. What can you tell us about Dre Edwards?
About Dre Edwards, yeah, from Baltimore. He's a great safety prospect. He might be the number 1 safety prospect in the country. He's certainly up there. Obviously, 5-star rated player. from Baltimore St. Francis. It's a great program. You know, they've sent guys to Alabama before. Darian Dalcourt was one. Chris Braswell had a great career here. They both played at that school. It's got a great tradition, one of the top programs in the country. They're well coached, obviously, well-schooled players coming out. So, you know, I think on July 5th, he's one of the few guys that's announcing after the 4th. And I think it's going to be, again, I'm projecting right now that it's great news for Alabama with Jariah Edwards.
Rodney Orr joins us on the Higginbotham hotline. So if you're listening to this interview, a lot of positive things that Rodney has been laying out for the Firecracker 5. And it's very interesting because I want to ask you about a 3-star wide receiver by the name of Brian Williams, not Ryan Williams, but Brian Williams. And I know some people, when they start, they get intoxicated by stars. And listen, you could do a whole show one day with us, and you can describe all of these guys that were 5-star products and they just did not live up to expectation, or 2 or 3 stars like a Javier Arenas that went on and had an incredible career at Alabama and played professional football very well. But what can you tell us about 3-star wide receiver Brian Williams Jr.? Because some people might be surprised that he's on your Firecracker 5.
Yeah. Well, you know, Pat, just real quick, when you say that about 3-star rated players, I think one of the greatest players at Alabama is D'Amico Ryans out of Jess Lanier. Nobody really knew about him. You know, he was a 3-star rated player. But anyway, with that said, it just kind of shows you sometimes these rankings don't really, they don't match up. But Brian Williams Jr., he is now he's transferring from Lake Mary, Florida, over to the First Academy there in Orlando. He's 6'3 plus. He's, again, has speed, gets down the field. He has those critical factors that we talked about: speed, height, the ability to stretch the field. And he had, you know, obviously a lot of people thought he would end up at Florida. Notre Dame has been in there really at some point, was strong. Penn State was strong at some point as well. But Alabama, I think he had a great visit here a few weeks ago. Feel confident right now where Alabama stands with him. And I think, too, you're going to see this with Brian Williams Jr., the defensive lineman out of Indianapolis that committed last weekend, J.J. Finch. I think these preliminary rankings are going to change. The player rankings are going to change. You're going to see like Finch jump up. You're going to see Brian Williams Jr. jump up as well, I do believe.
Rodney, I wanted to ask you real quick, because I know we were just talking about it before you went on the air, but I wanted our listeners to hear it as well. Because you gave your Firecracker 5, but there's another 5-star that you briefly mentioned there in that blurb, but he didn't quite make the cut, and that's Tank Jones. So what can you tell our listeners about potentially another big 5-star that Alabama's targeting and seem to feel pretty good about?
Well, I just didn't think these Alabama fans could handle 5 5-stars on the Firecracker 5.
Makes perfect sense.
Actually, yeah, I'd have been a homer, you know. But so I would have probably put him in there. I think Alabama has the edge. There's Auburn again, Texas A&M, Oregon, Miami. Those schools are all in there. But here's the thing. I didn't know when exactly Tank is going to announce. And if he announces now, I feel pretty good. 6 weeks from now, I might not feel as good. You know, you just don't know exactly. So that's one reason why I didn't, went ahead and just put Brian Williams Jr. in there. But I do feel good about Alabama's position with Tank Jones. And I tell you, he's out of Mobile, St. Paul's High School there. He's a guy that's listed as an edge player. I think he's going to probably, you look at him physically, he's probably going to get a lot bigger. I could see him eventually becoming a defensive lineman. And that is extremely important, too, to me, because Alabama's need on the defensive line. They've got to get, and they're getting some, but they've got to get more high-quality defensive linemen. So I think that would be a huge pickup there for that reason alone.
So at 11:14 a.m., on this date of June 26th in the year of our Lord 2025, you believe that Alabama right now stands in pretty good shape today with those announcements of the two today?
Do.
Okay.
Yeah, I do. Yes, I do. Right now. Now, I will say this. There's been a lot of chatter, obviously, about Texas with, E.J. Crowell. He visited there. And, my people down there in Jackson tell me that his mother has created quite a stir wearing a Texas T-shirt around town here recently.
Oh boy. Oh
So
boy.
you know how that goes. I saw her around town.
Brings out her eyes.
Yeah.
The
so,
burnt orange?
Yeah.
Is that what it is?
That's why
burnt
Conrad
orange,
wears
Texas.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but right now, yeah. I mean, look, I reached out to my Texas people. I said, hey, we're in some buzz about Texas. Tell me what. And they said, look, anything can happen, obviously, but we expect him to probably end up at Alabama. So, that's the way that they felt on it on that end. Within the last 24 hours. So anything can happen. But I tell you this, he's announcing on WKRG down in Mobile. You guys probably know that. I don't know.
Yeah, that's Simone Eli, correct?
Yes,
Mhm.
and there's a couple other people involved there that know his family really, really well, go back years with him. And the one thing they don't want him to do is to come on that TV station and announce for anybody other than Alabama or Auburn. They don't want him to
That's
come
where you
on
see
there
the
because
color bar come up.
wouldn't be good. That's not good business. But so you're kind of hoping that, whatever. But yeah, so. And hey, I want to mention just real quickly, because you guys talking about stars, if you don't mind. You guys, have you mentioned or are you familiar with the new documentary coming out about Coach Bryant and Alabama football, Nothing But a Winner?
Yes, I am.
Okay. That's going to be it's releasing on July 31st, over 1,500 theaters around the country.
And this is the Castile produced.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
wow.
And
Hey, I
they
know the
came to
theater at the
Tiger-
Summit here in Birmingham is going to show it.
Okay.
They actually, a couple of years ago, they had sent a crew from Hollywood to Tider Insider TV.
Awesome.
They filmed us live there, and I did an hour-long interview with one of the directors. Called me about a month ago, and he's telling me, okay, this is going to be released. He wanted to give me all this information. I said, well, did I make the cut? Did I make the cut? Are
Right.
you going to put me in there? And I did.
Awesome.
So
very good.
I wanted
Yes.
to announce that anybody that doesn't know, on July 31st, that documentary is going to be released.
Are you going to the premiere?
Well, they told me I'm supposed to go to some kind of a preview,
Okay.
and I'm waiting to hear back from them. So I don't know. It's kind of a private screening or whatever.
You got to break out your South Texas bar outfit that you used to wear back in the day.
I'd have to go get some Wranglers, go get me some more Tony Llamas.
Yeah.
Yeah, a belt buckle with a lot of dazzle on it.
Yeah.
I was, crazy enough, it was a disco, and I'm showing up in, Wranglers. And Tony Llamas.
It was like you're going to Gillies, right?
Yeah, right.
Oh, the good old days. All right, Rodney, have a great weekend. Stay cool there in Tuscaloosa. We'll be monitoring the two announcements today that Alabama is heavily anticipating, maybe having a good afternoon. So we appreciate it as always.
Thanks, Rodney.
Okay, guys, appreciate it. Take care.
That is Rodney Orr from Tider Insider. Joins us on the Higginbotham Hotline, your one-source solution for insurance, financial, and HR services.
Speaking of the 4th of July, our friends at Dobbs Ford, they are not taking vacation. You and your family might be off, and you might be looking for a new car, truck, or SUV. But Dobbs Ford, they're going to be serving up burgers and hot dogs coming up on the 4th of July, and you can check out the hot deals right now. They still have the Ford employee pricing going on right now on certain makes and models, 90 days until your first payment. Dobbs Ford, wonderful people. If nothing else, take them up on a hamburger, hot dog, maybe both on the 4th of July. But check them out. They're on Parkway East, Alabama's largest showroom selection. Joey and Rachel Goshen, wonderful people. Everybody there at Dobbs, you'll see for yourself. Just great people to deal with. DobbsFordBirmingham.com. That's DobbsFordBirmingham.com. Open on the 4th of July. Check them out and make sure you tell them Landrum from Jox sent you.
Always appreciate Rodney Orr joining us here on the program. When we come back, we will get to the text line. We have been so busy with a couple of guests already. Rob Pate later this hour. We will get to your text messages on the Courtesy GMC text line, 205-834-9450. It is 11:23 here on Jox. We want to thank everyone again last night at the Edge, the Birmingham Squadron, 18 South, all the great vendors and folks out there at the Edge making us at home last night.
Yes.
A lot of listeners showed up. Great to talk sports and watch the NBA draft last night. And one of the hot topics of conversation last night, it didn't matter who it was, whether it was Ted Feely from UAB, Joey from Sanford, our listeners, everybody would come up to me and go, was Conrad being serious? $100 for anyone's toothbrush?
You know, Rusty, our buddy who's the guitarist for Confederate Railroad.
Yeah.
That's the first thing he said to me. He goes, I forgot my toothbrush.
So
Yeah, nobody showed up with a toothbrush. I was disappointed.
So let me ask you, when you broke this to your wife, when you saw her last night, what was her reaction?
Well, I set it up and I just said, well, did you get to listen to the show at all? Because sometimes when she's at work, like at lunch or something, she might catch it. And she no. And typically, if I say something real spicy, someone at work, because she has a bunch of people at work that either them or their husbands listen, and it'll trickle its way down to her. But she didn't hear anything, and so I said, okay, well, we had a question. I asked her the question, for $10,000, would you use a stranger's toothbrush for 30 seconds? She said, yeah, no question. That's easy. I said, well, how about for $100? She said, no, that's terrible. That's a horrible idea. And I said, well, I may have said that I would do it for $100. And she said, well, are you actually going to have to do it? And I said, I hope not, but I don't know. With Pat and Landrum, they might make me actually do it.
No, it is happening. We have got so much stuff in the pipeline right now.
We really do.
It's not even funny.
We're not
we doing the chip
We're not
today?
playing this up.
Are we doing the chip today?
He has every day.
No, I haven't asked like the last 3 days.
But I can see you asking with your eyes every day.
Okay, so we're not doing it.
As irony would have it, though, this morning as I was reaching for my toothbrush and I didn't realize it, I grabbed my wife's by accident.
Did you use your wife's?
No. I thought about it, though.
There's so many things from the surstrumming repeat that needs to be done.
Yeah, I don't know if that one's happening.
Got a new segment on the show that I think people are going to love.
Yeah.
Maybe not our coworkers.
Well, he won't. Conrad won't, but it
You
doesn't matter.
might.
What is it?
We can't tell you yet.
Why can you not tell
Can you tell me?
Was she not privy to our?
No, but yeah,
No.
you will have to be involved because we're going to need some stuff.
We'll tell you. We'll tell you during the break.
Do I have to eat anything?
No,
Do I have to
No, not
put
with this one.
anything inside
Not
of
with
my
this
body?
one. No.
Nothing inside your body.
That's actually more concerning.
Well,
maybe.
technically,
Yeah, there will. Yeah,
there'll be some stuff inside your body.
yeah. There will be an orifice that. Also, want
Can't
to
wait.
say what a wonderful spread at Corbeau last night.
Huh.
We went into Corbeau after we were getting ready to wrap up the evening, and
That was a
Food was-
very elaborate charcuterie board too.
fantastic food at Corbeau. Whether you go the one here in Homewood or Trussville, just outstanding.
So nice. I was thinking, golly, do I have my Tupperware?
So you can take something home with you.
It was good. Their flatbreads were good too.
Yeah.
It was wonderful. Great
Outstanding.
service.
So we appreciate
Yeah,
Corbeau,
everybody
and
involved.
18 South, and everybody that made us. The hospitality was
Yeah.
through the roof, and the listeners that were there in attendance, they echoed that.
And I'll tell you what, getting to hang out with Coach TJ Saint, he's a great guy to just talk to, hang around.
Mm-hmm.
Just a down to earth, gets it. It was fascinating, some of the conversations.
Very much so. All right, let's get to the text line. A lot of you have already chimed in this morning on a myriad of topics. 205-834-9450, brought to you by Courtesy GMC.
Already some segment guesses for Conrad and what we have planned for him. Posey says, WWCD, what would Conrad do? Maybe so. Brad Chandler's asking, did Conrad become $100 richer last night? If so, how did it go? I bet he gobbled that toothbrush like a champ.
I'm not $100.
Gobbled.
Well, and that was the other thing that my wife added when I said it to her. She said, you're going to make people think that we're really desperate for money. Like, people are going to start being concerned that we're actually really poor, and you have to do these things so we can survive.
You just tell her, babe, this is you married a warrior. I'm competitive.
I just said it's $100. It doesn't matter if we're poor or rich. It's $100. Goes a long way.
It
Not as much
does.
as it used to, but it goes a long way still.
Someone guessing waffle stomping competition? No, I don't want to see that.
No, but I will say watching the Poop Cruise documentary on Netflix, that's pretty much all I could think of the entire time is you had a couple thousand waffle stompers on that boat
Oh,
against their will,
oh. I was on board, no pun intended, on going on a cruise. And then I saw that and I said, that would absolutely happen to me.
Yeah, that's nightmare scenario.
And the fact that they refurbished the ship, why would you not blow that thing up?
Yeah, I feel like it's okay to say this. Yeah, if you book a Carnival, don't get on the Sunrise.
The Sunrise
That's
used to be
the Poop Cruise.
Yeah, that was the Poop Cruise.
Yeah, don't get on the Sunrise.
Awful. And then how about the other cruise ship that pulls up and they're just waving and
Oh, well, that was the thing is they lost all communication on the boat because they didn't have cell service in the ocean and they didn't have Wi-Fi. And so they had to use the Wi-Fi of the other boat, and that's how they started to get out like pictures and things of what was going on, and people started to realize that this was actually a real problem.
Just imagine this is the equivalent of being in a portalet, being locked in a portalet and freely just floating, and you're at the ocean's mercy.
Yes. Worth a watch if you don't have a weak stomach, though.
Yes.
It was entertaining.
Michael asked, have you guys seen the movie Lone Survivor starring Mark Wahlberg?
Yes.
It's based on the mission, the rescue of Marcus Luttrell. This weekend marks the 20th anniversary of Operation Red Wings and the events depicted in the movie. I've seen the movie, and it's
awesome. That is probably the best modern war movie, in my opinion.
Yeah.
It is very good.
The firefight is at the beginning, right?
Yes. It's so good.
They're eating the beef jerky.
Don't like the part where they fall off the mountain. That definitely gave me some flashbacks to falling down a cave. But other than that,
any of those kind of movies, count me in.
I was about to say, that and American Sniper are the two best recent ones, in my opinion.
Zero Dark 30 was good.
And Zero Dark 30.
Jody says, biggest issue with Hugh Freeze playing golf while losing recruits is the tone deafness of it. He replaced Harsin at Auburn because Harsin could not recruit. Auburn currently has the 84th ranked, I'll correct that for you, class in the country, and Freeze has been on the golf course half the days this month. It just doesn't look right when you have yet to accomplish a winning season at Auburn.
Now, there is a theory out there, Conrad, that perhaps the reason why Auburn has dragged their feet here as of late in recruiting is because of budget.
Yeah, that's been thrown around there that I think we all understand. I mean, there was the article that came out that Auburn is one of the programs spending the most on their roster for this season, and we all know how important this season is. So maybe, yeah, you kind of went all in this year, and that's going to set you back for the next year. But you do have, to that texter's point, while it's not great this year, you have back-to-back top 10 recruiting classes that you're hoping those guys continue to stick around.
And you can't take years off.
No, you can't.
But what Jeffrey Lee told us from Auburn Live and On 3, senior recruiting editor there on Tuesday when he joined us, he said that from what he's heard, a lot of these guys, they'll come back in December. They don't want to make promises that they can't keep financially.
Yes. Well, and what was one thing that we've talked about the last couple of years that Auburn could offer is, hey, you want to come to Auburn, you're probably going to play pretty quickly, right? Because we need talented players. Well, now you have some talented players, so maybe that playing time is not as available, and that's, pushing some players to go elsewhere.
Our friend Don. Wow, let's go Cubs. 8-0 shutout. I'm just reading it, Pat.
Who's winning the series right now, Pat?
That would be the Cardinals. But they play today at 1:15, so we'll see.
Bounce back day.
Here's another one coming in on Hugh Freeze. When Freeze has a bad round of golf, who does he throw under the bus? The groundskeepers? He'll be sure to let people know it wasn't his fault.
Well, 9 times out of 10, I hit that putt.
Who mowed this green?
That's good. I forgot about him saying that last year.
Old Arkansas.
Oh, yeah. We will continue with your texts, your calls. This is 3-Man Front on Jox. We'll talk to Rob Payton in about 10 minutes. We'll get his thoughts on all the golf playing done by Hugh Freeze, if that really matters or not.
Rob lives on the golf course down there.
So does Butch Thompson,
And he never
according to
gets
Philip
to,
Marshall.
and he's told us he never gets to play.
He's a busy man. He's an entrepreneur.
Mm-hmm.
He's a grandfather. He's a father. He's a husband. He's a
scholar.
He's a pillar of the community in Auburn.
He's a two-way star at Irwin High School.
Mm-hmm.
Go Eagles.
So do we know if you go to the USGA site, can you go back and look at past years? Because I think that might be interesting to go and look how much golf did Hugh Freeze play last June, right? When they were having a top 10 recruiting class. And
Here's
it all worked
what's
out fine.
kind of startling to me. I didn't realize that this could be accessed by other people. Well, I knew for tournaments where I play, you have to have an established handicap because that's how they figure who you get paired with, where, all of that.
So you can't just go and say my handicap is blank. You
No.
have to have proof.
No.
Okay.
Yeah. But I I knew that like the place that they would have access to it, but I didn't know everybody else did.
Well, maybe
So if you're looking mine up, the last 3 times I've played, I've not played very well.
we can keep tabs on Ty like this. We can go check out his USGA and see how he's
That would be cool.
see how he's improving on the golf course.
And like every time he would come on and say, "Hey, we saw that your
yeah.
that your handicap has gone up or down. What's going on, Ty?"
I've been tinkering with some things. Ball striking is good, but I need to score.
Well, you were giving me some tips yesterday on what to
Man, YouTube's amazing.
check out with my swing.
It's amazing. It fixed it the other day. Hopefully that translates this weekend.
The Atlanta Braves are in action tonight as they wrap up their 4-game series with the New York Mets. On the bump, Grant Holmes tonight, 3-6, 3.97 ERA, goes up against Griffin Canning, who is 7-3, 3.91 ERA. Yankees won last night, first against the Reds this week, right? Did Detroit win last night? I can't remember. They didn't. She's shaking her head no.
More times than not.
They still have the best
answer would have
record
been
in
yes.
baseball. So,
do you worry about the flop? Because I worried about that with the Braves when the Braves were having that historic. I say historic. It was just, hey, how many wins are they're going to get to 115? And then my fear was we're going to get to the postseason, and my biggest fears came true. We couldn't deliver in the big moment. Do you worry about that with your Tigers?
I think about that every day.
She thinks about it every day. Okay.
Telling you that ALCS is going to be great.
So you're already penciling in the Yankees and the Tigers?
Mm-hmm. Yep. The American League's kind of a dud this year.
Well, we know it's not going to be the Orioles.
No, it's not.
Well, you talk about.
I was about to say, that's the most disappointing team in baseball right there. Probably even more so than the Braves.
So I was telling Conrad this earlier. Speaking of Hugh Freeze, I did David Smoke's show in Waco, Texas yesterday afternoon. And we got off onto the conversation of he asked me, is there one second-tier SEC program? Obviously outside Texas, Georgia, Alabama, LSU. That's who they, on that radio show, consider as the upper tier of the SEC.
For this year.
For this year. They said, for you, Pat, what second-tier team from the conference could make a run into the college football playoff? And I said Auburn, because I think the ceiling is high enough for Auburn with Georgia and Alabama both playing on the Plains. And I said the most important game to me is that first one in your neck of the woods in Waco against Baylor. And so we talked about that for a little bit. And they were not saying they were confident of beating Auburn, but they most definitely pointed out that this Baylor is going to be a good football team.
I have one of the best quarterbacks in the country with Sawyer Robertson. He's incredible.
Not a pushover.
They got Walker White, who transferred from Auburn.
Yes, they do.
So it was an interesting conversation, and we'll have David Smoke on as we get closer to that Auburn Baylor game.
You guys remember the conversation we had with Ryan Edwards just yesterday, and he said that he's really high on Baylor.
They're good. They are going to get votes to win the Big 12 at media days.
Look up Dave Aranda's handicap.
See if he's been playing golf.
Has he been playing?
Well, I'm sitting here looking. So Lindy's has Baylor as the 25th best team. Athlon's has Baylor at 29. Phil Steele has Baylor at 18.
Where do they have? I want to know. Where do they have Illinois in all of these? That's what I'm basing.
Okay.
Is Illinois better than Baylor?
Right.
What are we working with here?
Lindy's has Illinois at 17. Athlon's has Illinois at 17. Phil Steele has Illinois at 17.
Okay.
Since a theme developing.
So they're a little bit
So
better
they
than
think
Baylor.
Illinois is a little bit better.
Than Baylor. Our friend Kelly Ford.
I bet Bert's not playing any golf.
No. Kelly Ford does not have Baylor in his top 30.
Ooh.
Okay.
That's interesting. He has Auburn at 18, by the way.
Kelly Ford, most accurate over the last 10 years.
Sure is.
That's true. Yeah.
So
that's going to be a good game.
Put
But
a little pep in your step, Auburn fans.
Yeah, I was about to say, just don't be surprised when Baylor's a favorite in that season opening game.
We'll see. Speaking of Auburn, Rob Pate, outstanding DB for the Auburn Tigers, Entrepreneur of the Year down in Lee County, right?
Still Lee County.
Well, I didn't know if his store was.
Oh, yeah, it's still Lee County.
Okay. All right.
He's not in Chambers or Russell or I'm trying to think of the surrounding counties. No, it's Lee.
Hopefully we'll do a remote from his store.
Oh, would that be great? We can see how many toppings Conrad can eat. Conrad's like, yes.
Yeah, he'd probably do
now
that.
that's a challenge I would like to do.
He would actually enjoy that.
Rob Pate next on 3 Man Front. We'll talk to Rob Pate, former Auburn DB, coming up momentarily. Let me tell you about my friends at Artec Tractor in Jasper. They're your local family-owned dealer for Mahindra, the toughest tractors on earth. Artec has the new groundbreaking 1100 and 2100 series, those compact tractors, and now the 0% finances for 84 months plus $2,000 cash back right there at Artec Tractor. Stop by Artec Tractor in Jasper for a test drive to see their complete inventory at artectractor.com. Mahindra Tractors outworking the field.
Entrepreneur, doctor, husband, father, grandfather, former Auburn DB, Rob Pate, joining us on the Higginbotham Hotline. Dr. Pate, how are you today?
Hey, guys. I'm good. How are y'all?
We are well. Thank you for asking. We're just trying to make sense of are people going overboard, over-exaggerating with the scores, the frequency of Hugh Freeze playing golf and trying to correlate that with what right now appears on paper to be a lackluster recruiting class?
Probably. I mean, I think that, yes, we overreact this time of year every year. Last year we overreacted because the coaching staff took a week off, and when other staffs didn't, and that was a big no-no, and just wasn't expected. And then in the end, it didn't really matter. As far as the golfing that's taken place and the amount of times, I mean, perception-wise, I think it's a bad look. As a guy that has a business and sees patients each day. I mean, I don't make $7 million a year by any stretch. I haven't played golf in 5 years. I would love to get out there and play as often as Coach Freeze can. But by the same token, I mean, look, if that's what it takes for him to get out there and be able to do his job well, then I'm for it if we win football games. But, there's just no more – you just can't have any excuses any longer. That's the biggest thing, is that you're in a day and age where he's been preaching that it's going to take 3 full recruiting cycles, and I just don't think that that's feasible any longer. With the portal the way that it is, and with you having to pay to maintain your roster and keep it intact, I just think that there's just not going to be the patience for that. And I think most people, if you're on the right track, you can see progress in year 2. And I think Auburn made some progress, just not in the win-loss column. And ultimately, that's what matters. I don't care where you're at as a program at Auburn. You should always be better than Vanderbilt. You should always be better than Missouri. And it's those games that you have better talent and you still walk out a loser. Those are the things that the Auburn people just aren't going to put up with. And that's what's going to have to get corrected this year. And I think they have the talent to do it, and if they do it, then if Hugh Freeze is a scratch golfer, nobody will care. If they don't do it, then it's going to be something that he's not going to be able to overcome.
The part that surprised me about this whole story, Rob, and listen, I don't care whether he wants to go fishing or go to the beach or be on the lake or play golf. I don't really care. But the thing that surprises me is that we're not talking about a rookie coach in the Southeastern Conference. We're talking that somebody lost his job because he did something that the hypersensitive media was able to tackle and literally bring his career to a halt because of what happened at Ole Miss, and that he is not being sensitive enough to know that somebody out there is not going to pay attention, that he's on the golf course a lot. That's just a bad look for someone that has been a so-called veteran in this conference.
Yeah, I mean, he's had some things that from a decision-making standpoint, I mean, you would think that maybe there would be some different decisions that were made, but I also think that he's at a different stage in life where I'm not sure that is sad. I mean, I respect this as a man, but it's as a fan, it's not where you want your head coach to be. But I just don't think that football is the most important thing in life for him. And like I said, it wouldn't be for me either. I mean, there's far more important things in life than winning football. but you're in a cutthroat league where all these other schools are doing everything they can to send you to your demise. And if you have kind of the demeanor of, it's second fiddle in my life, which, like I said, I'll say it till the cows come home. That's why I couldn't go into coaching, because it's not going to consume me. I don't think it consumes him, and I think that Auburn is a place that can slowly kind of get people into a comfort zone, and it happens with a lot of coaches. So many coaches end up retiring to Auburn and living here forever because it's a great community, and people love you and treat you really well. But it also can kind of lull you to sleep a little bit. And I'm not saying that it doesn't matter to him. I mean, I obviously think it does. I think he's shown in the 2 years that he's been here from a recruiting standpoint that he's willing to do what it takes to upgrade the roster, which is the main reason he's here. But if the wins don't come with this, then I can definitely see how the patience will run thin with people.
Rob, what phase of the game do you believe that Auburn has to be much better in this year to have the kind of success that Auburn fans expect?
Well, the easy answer is quarterback play, because that was very, very much an issue last year. But I also think that just preparation has to be better. I mean, in 2 years you lose home games to New Mexico State and to Vanderbilt, and you just can't happen. I mean, I understand in year one sometimes that even the best will not have a team ready. Maybe you overlook a team, but that just can't be a pattern, and that's become one. And so that's something that you have to be wary of. I think from a on the field standpoint, I think that scoring in the red zone is a huge glaring issue from last year. I want to say Auburn was towards the bottom of college football and getting the ball in the end zone when they got into the red zone. And then another big one last year was special teams. I mean, Auburn was just awful in special teams. We, obviously had lost our field goal kicker, and then we had a kid from Auburn High that came in as a kicker that really struggled and, really just became a mental block for him, I think, because I've watched that kid. That was the best high school kicker I've ever seen in my life at Auburn High School, and he really just struggled in year one. So just got to get better special teams-wise as well.
That is Rob Pate, joins us each and every Thursday on this program, give us his thoughts on the Auburn program and college football. Always a treat. Hope everything's going well at Sweet Frog, and we look forward to catching up with you next week.
All right, guys. I appreciate you having me, and y'all have a happy 4th. And, yeah, absolutely. War Eagle to everybody.
Hit them straight, Rob.
I wish.
Thanks, Rob.
Thanks,
That's
Rob.
Rob Pate joining us on the Higginbotham Hotline, your one-source solution for insurance, financial, and HR services. We are halfway home on this Thursday. Keep it tuned right here to Jox. This is 3-Man Front. It is 12 noon across the great state of Alabama. Thanks for tuning us in on Jox. This is Three Man Front. Landrum, Conrad, Molly. I'm Pat with you until 2 o'clock. Coming up at the bottom of the hour, we will do Molly's Movie Minute, which was Gremlins. And if you go vote right now at the Three Man Front Twitter page, you've got 29 minutes to vote on next week's movie. Is it going to be Norbit, Masters of the Universe, The Lost Boys, or Teen Wolf?
I need 200 listeners right now to vote for Teen Wolf.
It's probably going to take that.
Norbit. Come on, everybody.
What's the voting?
As of this moment, Lost Boys at 50.6% is in the lead, followed by Teen Wolf at 27.8%, Norbit 16.5%, and coming up in the rear, Masters of the Universe.
Lost Boys, that's Kiefer Sutherland, right?
Correct.
That's okay.
See, when I hear Lost Boys, I think of Peter Pan.
This is a lot different.
Do you consider Teen Wolf a basketball movie?
I do not.
It's a coming-of-age basketball movie. I would say it's a basketball movie the same way that Gremlins is a Christmas movie.
I feel like Teen Wolf has been on a lot of the polls in the past, but it's never won.
Yeah, there's good reason for that.
And it appears it's not going to win. It's not going to win today either.
I feel like it always just makes a reappearance and
Yeah.
never gets voted for.
So this is the only question I'm going to ask you about Gremlins until 12:30. Would you consider it a Christmas movie?
Loosely,
Have you ever seen Die Hard?
yes.
Do you consider
Which one
that
is
a
more of a
Christmas
Christmas movie?
Maybe Gremlins because I liked it better, and I'll just leave it at that.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll get her full review.
Would you like a gizmo?
I don't want to say anything yet.
Okay.
I don't want to give anything away.
I'd love a Mogwai.
They kind of look like, what were those things called when we were growing up? Were they Furbies?
The Furbies,
Yeah, they
yes.
kind of look just like
Yes, I had a Furby.
those.
Pretty sure Furby copied.
Well, yes.
I just like the way they sing.
So CBS Sports, they have done a deep dive in which they have gone through every team in the Southeastern Conference for this upcoming football season. And they've basically given you the best and worst case scenario for each and every SEC team.
Oh, boy.
Let's start with Alabama. In your opinion, what do you think the ceiling is? Now, this is what CBS Sports.
Is this regular season?
Yes, regular season. The ceiling and what would be the basement for Alabama football?
I think ceiling, I'll go 11-1.
11-1. Molly, what do you think? The
Ceiling?
The ceiling for Alabama.
I think national championship.
Well, this is just regular season.
Oh, dang. Sorry, I missed that part. Yeah, okay, 12-0.
12-0?
Yeah.
All right.
Ceiling.
Yes, that's
Yes.
the ceiling. That's the high bar, according to CBS
I'll be optimistic.
Sports. Conrad, what is your ceiling for Alabama regular season, according to CBS Sports? What do you think it is?
Ceiling?
Mm-hmm.
11-1.
11-1. So you got two 11-1s
I said 12-0.
and a 12-0.
Wow, that's very bold of you, Molly.
I'm an optimist.
According to CBS Sports, the best case scenario for Alabama is 12-0.
Sweet. There you go, Conrad.
It's possible.
They're trying to get clicks.
They said everything must go right for the Crimson Tide to go unblemished against the daunting schedule. It's possible, however, given the roster strengths, the handful of games that will swing either a playoff berth or another regrettable finish comes against Georgia, Tennessee, South Carolina, LSU, Oklahoma, and Auburn. But they say best case scenario is 12-0. All right, what about this? What about the basement?
Oh, this would be bad, and we would be very busy on the show. Basement, 8-4.
Yep,
I think
8-4.
8-4.
I can't even wrap my head around what a 7-5 Alabama season would look like. I can't. That was so long ago. I can't fathom it. It's been 18 years.
Well, you guys nailed it because that's what CBS Sports says. Quoting CBS Sports, all hell will break loose among Alabama supporters if the Crimson Tide stub their toe against Florida State or Wisconsin before opening SEC play against Georgia. The Seminoles have a new offense under Gus Malzahn, and the Badgers are struggling to find footing with Luke Fickell in charge. Even with those games out of the way, Alabama has 6 matchups with teams inside CBS Sports' post-spring top 25 rankings. We're setting the floor at 8 wins. If DeBoer gets Alabama to the playoff, The team will have to earn it.
Yeah, Alabama, Georgia, naturally. Auburn on the road at the end of the season. South Carolina on the road. And then the fourth, I don't believe it'll happen, but I'll throw out LSU.
Yeah, I would agree. Those are the four biggest question mark games.
What about Auburn? According to CBS Sports, what do you think the ceiling is for the Auburn Tigers? I went on a radio show in Waco, Texas yesterday, and I said of the second tier of SEC teams, not being LSU, Alabama, Georgia, or obviously Texas, I'd put Auburn Tigers in that mix. But what would be the ceiling in your opinion?
What I think they said, or
Yeah, just what do you think?
I would think that they would put them as a 9-3 ceiling.
Yeah, this
team.
is not a prediction of what we think they're going to. I'm asking you what you think CBS Sports thinks Auburn's.
I think that they put them at 9-3.
Okay.
As a ceiling.
10-2.
10-2.
I go 9-3.
9-3. There is going to be a logjam of SEC teams that are good but not elite this fall. Auburn might be part of that group. What matters is who the Tigers beat and where their strength of schedule ranks at season's end. Remember, this is the most optimistic observation possible for the Tigers. If Hugh Freeze is anywhere near the playoff contention, he'll pass the necessary tests from the natives needed for his job security. So 9-3. Now, next question. What's the bottom floor for Auburn, according to CBS Sports?
5-7.
Yeah, I think it's 5-7. But you know what? To be different, I'll say 6-6.
I'd go 5-7.
CBS Sports says 5-7. Missouri, Arkansas, Kentucky, and Vanderbilt. Those are the games Auburn fans expect to win, but often have not in recent years. Of course, very few of those contests matter if the Tigers fall in their opening at Baylor and lose both of their first SEC games on the road against Oklahoma and Texas A&M.
Yeah, that is not something that. Oh, but I can't imagine that because we saw it last year. Stumbling out of the gate. That would not be good.
You guys pretty much nailed.
Give us another one. Just a random.
Just give me a team. I'll give you a team.
Let's go
Florida.
Ooh.
You want Florida?
Florida.
Good one.
Okay. What's the ceiling according to CBS?
Oh, I think that they are loving them some Florida. 10-2.
Yep.
10-2.
You nailed it. You guys are good at this. A year after staying above hot water through arguably the toughest schedule in college football history, Florida faces a similar challenge in 2025, though maybe it is not as daunting to have DJ Lagway back at quarterback. 10 wins against this slate would mean a near automatic playoff berth as an at-large selection.
Yeah, you do it against that schedule.
Now, what's the floor for them? Because I could feel like the floor for them might be like 4-8, just because that schedule is.
Is
No
that your
way.
final? Is that your final answer?
I'm going 4-8
No way.
for floor.
Lagway's their trump card. So I think the lowest they go for Florida, 7-5.
I'd go like 6-6.
6-6. Florida 6-6 according to CBS.
Okay.
There might not be a team in the country with two rougher games on the road than what the Gators must endure in September at LSU and Miami. Losing both would be catastrophic, giving a home bout with Texas comes just 2 weeks later. 5 games in November against Georgia, Ole Miss, and Tennessee, and that's where this program got hot last fall.
I don't see it with Miami this year.
You don't think Carson's he's refound himself, his love for football, his love for life?
It's a different deal. And it is about surrounding. I don't see him as that much of a difference maker when you have deficiencies at certain positions.
Let's do LSU. What do you think?
Ooh.
They're going to be.
I think LSU, they went 10-2.
Yeah, I'll go 10. Yeah, 11-1 might be a little rich.
I go 10-2.
11-1.
Oh, they did do it. Okay.
Moscona write this?
No, did not. Worst case.
Love you, Matt.
7-5.
8-4.
I go 8-4.
What did you say?
7-5.
6-6.
Ooh.
Wow.
Matt Moscona did not write this.
It says it's going to take more than OxyClean to remove the stain of the Tigers' 5 consecutive losses in season openers. They'll try to snap it this year at Clemson inside the other Death Valley. The preseason favorites in the ACC can make it ugly for the Tigers if Cade Klubnik is on. Trips to Alabama and Oklahoma in November are critical as well. If the Tigers do finish 500, that's going to create a major job vacancy in the SEC.
Ooh, there it is. There it is.
So they're saying that if he goes 6-6,
If he goes, yeah.
Yeah, oh yeah, he's cooked. Yeah, he's done.
give me another one. We got time.
Ole Miss.
Oh, let's go the Rebels. All right, Molly, what do you think? What's the ceiling?
The ceiling, I'm going to go 10-2.
9-3.
I'm leaning 9-3.
Wow.
Yeah.
Best case scenario for both of you guys, 9-3.
Yeah.
I got you. Don't worry.
I felt a lot better about Ole Miss last year than I do heading into this season.
Yep.
11-1.
Ooh.
Wow.
All right, Pat Smith, what did you write?
I wrote the following. The Rebels leave home only once prior to the game between the Hedges and Georgia in Week 8. Not to dwell on the past, but last year's loaded roster would have likely mopped the floor with this schedule, with most of the Rebels' season-defining games coming at home. That's great news for new starting quarterback Austin Simmons, as long as he's as advertised and the pieces around him gathered from the transfer portal are fits.
It didn't help Ole Miss last year when they took on a Kentucky team. Fought Hemingway.
See, because I'm with you. I think Ole Miss is going to be good, but
Yeah.
it's just hard for me to believe that they're going to do what last year's team couldn't do.
All right, what's the basement? Since you guys were already doing the basement anyway on the high end.
7-5.
I was thinking 7-5.
Well, yeah, if they got them 11-1 ceiling, that schedule.
They did have LSU at 6-6 though.
You know what? I bet they said 8-4.
6-6.
That's pretty drastic.
Says unless Ole Miss suffers stunning losses to Kentucky, Arkansas, and Tulane in September, this team's going bowling and going to be in a very good bowl game, to say the very least. So,
Do you guys think that they make the college football playoff this year?
I don't.
No.
Ole Miss?
Yeah.
No.
I don't either.
I think they're in a very similar spot as last year, where they're one of those bubble teams.
Texas, they've got the best case for them, 12-0. Worst case, 8-4.
I thought they were
For
going
the
to say worst case
Longhorns.
11-1.
Let's see what they say about Georgia. What do you guys think about Georgia?
Georgia
11-1.
11-1, and I think
8-4 for the floor.
yeah,
Yeah.
8-4.
12-0, best case scenario. Worst case, 8-4. So you guys nailed that. Basically, with Alabama, Texas, and Ole Miss all coming.
It's really hard
To
for me
averages.
to go ceiling on any team, whether it's the SEC, the Big Ten, and saying 12-0.
So Brett Norsworthy,
Yeah.
great friend of the program. He and I were going back and forth the other night. He was already, for those that know Brett on this show, he gives us incredible scenarios. And especially when we see him in Atlanta, like he's already like playing out week by week.
Yeah.
Remember that crazy scenario he gave us in Nashville a couple of years ago
Yeah.
of like,
He played it out detailed by detail, and there were like 11 different things that would happen.
it was crazy. The dominoes.
It was super impressive.
So he's already doing his homework. And so he was texting me, asking me some questions. And he showed me some of his paperwork. He took a picture on his phone and sent it to me. As of this moment, he has got like 3 teams going 9-3 in the SEC. Like that's the best. Like he thinks this league is going to absolutely eat each other alive this year.
Oh, like he thinks Atlanta will be 9-3 versus 9-3?
Yes.
Wow.
I don't know. No disrespect to him. I don't know if I go that far, but I could see that happening. Where 10-2 might be your best record.
Yeah. He was.
You
Now-
think about Texas, that's supposed to be the bell cow, right? Look at their schedule.
Mhm.
What gives you any confidence they're going to beat Georgia this year?
Well, it's not only Georgia.
So let me give you a tricky one. Vanderbilt. I think Vegas has their win total at what, 4.5? Is that correct?
Yeah, Diego.
Ceiling.
He's got a little walking around money now.
Best
I bet
case
ceiling
scenario,
7 and 5.
7-5. Molly,
I-
you sold liquor in Nashville. What do you think?
I think 7 and 5 ceiling. Is
7
fair.
and 5.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh no, they're going Diego. The legend lives on. They're going 8 and 4 ceiling.
8-4. According to CBS Sports, the best case scenario for Vanderbilt, 9-3.
Wow. Landrum doesn't know how to act.
Wow, you got to warn me if you're going to say something like that. 9-3.
9-3. Diego Pavia has provided plenty of bulletin board material for opposing teams this fall after being granted another year of eligibility. Clark Lee has to love the level of confidence out of his quarterback, but it's a bit scary too. If Vanderbilt wins both of its road games against Virginia Tech and South Carolina in September, this team will be inside the top 20 going to Alabama on October the 9th. That's a tall task asking, considering the Commodores have lost 16 straight to the Gamecocks. What will Tennessee look like with Iamaleava at quarterback no longer? Perhaps this is a rivalry matchup the Commodores can steal at the end of the campaign.
Do they name something after Diego Pavia if he beats Alabama again, Auburn, and Tennessee?
Yeah, it's just Pavia University. It's
Yeah.
not Vanderbilt anymore.
Change the whole school.
All right, so they think 9-3 is best case. Worst case,
3 and 9.
just flip all the wins to losses.
Yes.
That's good.
Yeah.
5 and 7.
5-7,
3 and 9.
3-9, 4-8.
Okay, I was like, it's not going to be great.
Virginia Tech, Alabama, and Auburn all have their dates with Vanderbilt circled with heavy Sharpie. Last season's shocking losses left a lingering taste for the trio that hasn't yet dissipated. Vanderbilt has more talent than the Hokies, but not against another SEC foe. LSU and Texas are on the schedule too. This is brutal if you're a Vanderbilt fan expecting a continued rise after last year's trip to a bowl season. So, best case 9-3 for Vanderbilt.
Man.
If Vanderbilt goes 9 and 3, we just put them in the playoff. Just see what happens. Just put them in.
Well, I mean, if they're 9-3, there might be a conversation for
Yeah.
Vanderbilt to be in the college football playoff. It might not be a mercy. Go ahead and just let them in.
It's true.
Let them go to Austin.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
They came close in Nashville.
Mm-hmm.
I was about to say I would trade another loss to Vanderbilt for them to also beat Texas, but I wouldn't do that.
The most interesting thing about this, the last one, we're not going to go into detail. I'll just go tell you the number. Best case scenario for Oklahoma is 10-2,
They're going to be good.
What's floor? 6 and 6.
5-7.
Yeah, that'll get
And so
him
if it's
fired.
5-7, he's gone.
Yeah, he's gone.
Absolutely.
So it's interesting because if a couple of these teams hit the basement, I'm talking about Auburn, LSU, and Oklahoma, there could be changes.
Yep.
If they hit the basement, in which CBS Sports is saying that's the worst case scenario.
Might be able to throw Florida on that list too.
Mm-hmm. So we will continue with your calls, your texts. Bottom of the hour, we'll do some Molly's Movie Minute. This is Three Man Front on Jox. We just went over some high ceiling for SEC teams in the basement. I've got some Big Ten numbers that I will share with Molly momentarily. See how her Nebraska Cornhuskers fare.
Are you going to be sharing these with the rest of the group?
Yeah, so this is...
It's going to be 12-0.
Sounded like
We'll set this one out.
Well, Diamonds Direct is not your typical jewelry store. It is a full-on experience. The second that you walk in, you're buzzed through the front door like you're a VIP. They greet you with champagne or water, and they have this warm, personal energy about them like they've been expecting you. Recently, I went in, and I was blown away by the selection. The space is extremely sleek. Everything sparkles, and the team actually listens. I told them what all I had in mind, and Sasha, my diamond expert, she showed me some pieces that not only matched my budget, but also my whole style. And right now, they're having a promotion where you buy an engagement ring, you get the wedding band for free. I'm serious, a free wedding band. So that's over at Diamonds Direct.
All right, Molly. So I know you're waiting with bated breath on what CBS Sports had to say about your Nebraska Cornhuskers. The best case scenario in your mind for Nebraska for this upcoming season?
Well, you know I want to say 12-0, but I really know that's not going to happen. So best case scenario, like in a perfect world for me, I would go 9-3.
9-3. Okay. Conservative. She goes 9-3. How about you, Landrum? I know you don't have the schedule in front of you. I'm just off the top of your head. Best case scenario.
And I'll give my reason.
Do you want me to be the bad guy and say 8-4?
I was about to say 8-4.
Yeah, me too.
But I would be happy with that.
Okay, go ahead. Give us your reason why you said 9-3.
Because Nebraska, because the Big Ten does it a little different. It's not a complete flip of last year's. Of like, I guess the big boys of the Big Ten, we play Penn State and Michigan, and that's it. We don't have Ohio State. We don't have Oregon. No.
So you don't play Ohio State?
No. No.
Do you play Indiana again?
No Indiana. No Illinois. So no Brett Bielema.
Who's left?
Purdue?
We have, so our Big Ten schedule, we have Michigan and Michigan State, Maryland, Minnesota, Northwestern, USC, UCLA, Penn State, and Iowa.
I might change mine to 11-1 then for the best case scenario.
Well, see, that's why I was saying, I'm going to say 12-0.
I would like to
I'll go
change.
9-3.
I'd like to change my answer to 9-3.
Yeah, me too.
Thanks, guys.
Me too.
The whole group's going 9-3.
You talk about
Can
a
I go-
Schedule
cupcake.
is.
Well, if they're going 9-3, can I go 10-2? I'm going to go 10-2.
Now you've done it.
I don't think that's going to happen, but,
According to CBS Sports, the best case scenario for the Nebraska Cornhuskers is 11-1.
What?
Even she's laughing.
No, wow.
After nearly 15 years of hoping Nebraska is back, Nebraska is finally back. Dylan Raiola takes a huge step towards his sophomore season, playing so well that the world begins to wonder if Patrick Mahomes should start to mimic him instead.
What?
I'm just the reader here.
Oh, man.
The transfers and incoming freshmen give the Huskers one of the best receiving cores in the league, and the loss of Tony White on defense isn't felt. Nebraska's only loss comes on the road to Penn State after a 10-0 start.
Golly.
Wow.
Ready for this?
Oh, no,
You're gonna
there's
be
more?
if they win, if they reel off 10 in a row, it's going to be insufferable.
I'm not going to
If
be
they're going to
okay.
have that loss, please let it happen earlier in the season to tamp the brakes for that one.
I will not be okay.
And for the first time since 2012, they're playing in the Big Ten championship game.
Oh my gosh.
Wow, we are really going all the way.
I would
with this one.
lose my literal mind if that happened.
That'll be a ratings bonanza.
Don't tell me that they're going to win the Big Ten.
I got more.
There's
I got,
more?
Tell me they're
No,
going
we
to
need
win.
to
I
stop.
got
Did
more.
Chat GPT write this?
Maybe.
Pat, my little heart can't take this.
There's no
Maybe.
way a human being wrote this.
No, this is a live human
Keep
being
going.
that wrote this. The only downside
Oh, here we go.
to the season
Matt Rule leaves after.
No.
Dana Holgerson leaves to take the head coaching job at Oklahoma State.
That would actually be a very fitting transition, I feel like, from Gundy to
That
Holgerson.
would.
Oh.
Can you send me this article?
Absolutely.
I have some people I need to send that to.
Absolutely. Okay.
What's the floor?
Now we
force-
got to get to the bad
The
news.
floor's probably like 3 and 9.
Are you going 3 and 9?
With our luck, probably.
Well, no. What is your professional opinion? You just gave us your professional opinion and said 10-2. CBS Sports at 11-1.
Floor, I would go 6-6.
Okay,
That's
6
what
and
I
6.
last-
No, 7-5 in your sleep would be the floor.
Well,
Based on that schedule.
Yes.
you're
Yeah,
also
6 and
talking-
6.
You're also
6 and
talking about
6.
Nebraska here.
According to CBS, 5-7.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm not even surprised.
This is what they wrote on the basement. Nebraska is not back. It turns out the 2024 season was a bit of a fluke as the offense struggles because Dylan Raiola spends too much time watching Jackson Mahomes on TikTok and not enough time studying game film. A lack of explosive plays on offense and defense put the Huskers in too many difficult spots, and it all ends with a home loss to Iowa
Ugh.
on Black Friday to keep the team from going to a bowl game. Dylan Raiola enters the transfer portal immediately.
Yes.
Matt Rule enters 2026 firmly on the hot seat.
But see, like that.
Raiola follows Holgerson
I
To
also could
Oklahoma
see
State.
that.
Yep, that's it.
Yeah.
So which one of those two scenarios you think is more likely, Molly?
11-1.
Has Raiola, I know Zach Calzada has he gotten a little chunkier?
I don't know, actually.
Might have been somebody else.
He looks about the same.
How about, yeah.
He just looks like mini Pat Mahomes.
Yeah.
He looks the same.
Got the same hair and everything.
All right, I'm going to give you one more team in the Big Ten. We're not going to spend a lot of time on the Big Ten because we don't
please.
like the Big Ten.
Please be Bert.
You going
Which one
Iowa?
to do? You want to do Bielema?
Bert.
Please.
Let's do Bert.
Bielema?
Yeah.
All right, let me find Illinois.
12-0 for the Seal.
Yeah.
All right, so what is the ceiling for Illinois? Conrad, we'll start with you.
They're probably going.
Are you going 12-0?
No, 11-1.
Okay.
Because they have an easy schedule too.
I have their schedule pulled up.
I'm pulling it up.
Looking at their schedule, I would say 11-1.
Not a shot at Molly, but if they have Nebraska's best case at 11-1, I would think Illinois would also be 11.
Yeah.
That is a shot at Nebraska, by the way.
It's
but
okay. I'm numb to it all.
Landrum's trying to find wins for Brett Bielema. What you got?
For me, best case scenario for Illinois is 9-3.
Okay. All right. According to CBS, it's 11-1.
That's silly.
Told you that was going to happen.
For once, an Illinois team with preseason hype lives up to it and even improves. Quarterback Luke Altmaier proves to be one of the best quarterbacks in the Big Ten and is at the helm of one of the most efficient offenses in the league. The defense continues to create havoc with turnovers. All right, so what's the basement for Brett Bielema?
This is 0-12.
That would be a very Brett thing to do.
Yeah, it would be, wouldn't it? 7-5, 6-6.
So you think with that schedule, they have to finish
You
above
have
500.
to.
Yeah.
That's
6-6.
embarrassing schedule. Yeah, 6.
I'd go 6-6.
5-7.
Ooh.
The losses at receiver lead to a significant drop in offensive production, injuries at key spots, perhaps even quarterback, derails the season as a team that thrived in close games last year doesn't produce the same results in the spots this year.
Yeah, I think that they could lose 2 of their first 4. Maybe 2 of their first 5. Or, excuse me, 3 of their first 5.
And I guess that would be the scenario of 5-7.
You're at Duke, second week of the season. At IU, 4th week. And then 5th week, you get SC at home. Then later, Ohio State at home, at Washington. I could see Wisconsin, Madison, second to last week of the season. That being tricky. We'll know more about what's.
I think I'm going to have to watch every Illinois game this year at this point. I think that's the team I'm the most interested to watch outside of the SEC.
Yeah.
So that hopefully we can make fun of them.
I will recap just basically just going through this article quickly. They anticipate that the Big Ten, there's a lot of the ceiling for these teams is off the chain.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm talking Illinois 11-1, Indiana 11-1, Iowa 10-2, Maryland 9-3, Michigan 12-0, Michigan State 9-3, Minnesota 10-2, Nebraska 11-1.
Well, who are these teams losing to then?
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Well, I guess they're saying that's the best case scenario for that particular. I guess they're looking at each individual team.
Yeah, assuming they
not
would
as
be
a whole. Yeah, right.
Yeah. What's Purdue?
Oh yeah.
What's their ceiling? Like 8-4?
12-0. I'm just kidding. Purdue. Let's see. Penn State 12-0. Purdue 6-6 is the best
Okay,
case
that's
scenario.
okay. I can buy that.
Worst case scenario for Barry Odom.
Barry
0-12.
Odom goes 6-6.
Or, what, 2-10?
1-11.
There's no way he goes 1-11.
He's at least a 2-10 kind of coach.
No, Barry Odom's a good coach.
is a good
UCLA
coach.
worst case scenario 2-10.
Oh man, that would be awesome.
USC's worst case scenario is 5-7. Wisconsin worst case 3-9.
Yee.
Luke.
They might be making a change if that happens.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh. Well, coming up next, Molly's Movie Minute. Gremlins is the movie that she watched, and she will report on next on Three Man Front.
Yes.
So why are we playing Christmas music in the middle of summertime? Well, it's because the movie that Molly reviewed kind of got a Christmas theme. Gremlins was the movie that she watched. This is what we call Molly's Movie Minute.
It's time for Molly's Movie Minute. Cinematic insights with expert critiques and analysis. And now, let's journey through the world of film with Molly Robinson.
All right, here we go. Gremlins, a movie that she had not seen until this week. I guess that's when she watched the movie. Did you like it? What's your overall impressions?
I want to start this off with, I wish so bad I could go back in time to 1984 and be around when this movie first came out.
It was a great time.
And all these parents taking their kids to the movie theater to see this sweet little movie called Gremlins about Gizmo, the cute little guy. And all of a sudden, all you know what breaks loose. And I will say, this is probably the highest I will ever rank a quote-unquote horror movie. And it's probably my favorite, because it technically is listed as a horror movie online.
I'm sorry, Pat. I didn't think this was going to happen.
But I liked it, though.
Yeah.
Like I said horror with quotes because it's not.
Sorry.
I didn't think it was that scary, but I'm also not 10. So, but I liked it. It was hilarious. Pat looks mad at something.
It's all right. Well,
This was a cute horror movie.
We're all really glad that you liked the movie.
I did. I liked Gizmo. The other Gremlins, maybe not so much, but they were funny.
No, Gizmo's great.
Yeah, he's
Yeah, Gizmo was
fantastic.
so cute.
His acting was fantastic.
Oh,
It really was.
Phenomenal. Give him an Oscar.
Yep. I had forgotten that Corey Feldman was in that movie.
Oh, yeah.
There were, okay, I know I'm bad with actors and names and whatnot, but there were a lot of faces that I recognized. Like the kid from the Goonies was in there.
Who was
There were
the
a couple-
dad? The dad with the bathroom buddy. What else did he play in? Sorry, I had to ask. I know the Asian gentleman who played the grandfather of the store. I actually had recognized him.
That was Hoyt Axton that played the dad.
Oh,
Yeah,
Hoyt Axton. Okay.
Mhm. Yep.
But it was-
He was a singer.
The Asian
a
actor
country
who
singer,
played
if
the
I'm not mistaken.
grandfather was in Gunsmoke, I think. He had like bit roles.
But it was the girl from Fast Times at Ridgemont High. And then one of the guys was also from, I recognized both of them.
Phoebe
yeah,
Cates.
that's right.
Yes. Sorry, I'm horrible with names.
Mhm. Phoebe
She was-
Cates.
Yes.
She was definitely, okay. She was different in the other movie.
I will say that, like, this movie.
Do you know who did the voice of Gizmo?
No. Bright light. Bright light. No, who?
Howie Mandel.
Really? I did not know that.
He
Huh.
did.
That's really cool.
Mhm.
Thought you were going to say the guy from Police Academy.
Yeah, you didn't hear him say deal or no deal at that one point in the movie?
I used to like that show.
I did too.
I did too. Ew, but it was so nasty when, I mean, obviously you can't feed them after midnight, and he was feeding them all the chicken, and then they went in their cocoons, and they all.
No, so they can't spill water on them either.
I know, because then they'll multiply.
Yeah.
Oh, that was so gross. It was okay. This is truly like a roller coaster of a Christmas movie.
Or hairballs.
And then when the one really bad gremlin went into the pool at the YMCA, and they all just started mass producing.
Striper.
Oh yes.
Yeah, Striper.
Striper.
He was a problem.
And then after they blew up the movie theater, and then he, of course, was the last one left.
Those gremlins, they'd get into it. They'd put on makeup, smoke cigarettes.
Oh, the bar scene was hilarious.
Play
The poker. And then when they're all in the movie theater watching Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs.
Didn't one of them get them in the microwave?
Yes.
Yeah.
Which the mom was awesome, by the way. I think she put one in the blender.
Yeah,
She put
I
one in the
need to
microwave.
go back and watch that movie. I
loved
movie.
it. It was great.
So what about the fireplace scene?
That was really sad. That was so depressing.
I've forgotten about that story.
What about when they tinker with the thing the grandma has on the stairs and it shoots her out the window?
Yes.
That's my favorite part of the
That
movie.
was hilarious because I did not like her.
No, I know.
She was so mean.
I know.
She was
It's
terrible.
awesome.
I was super sad for the teacher, though, the science teacher. He walks in and he's just like on the ground.
Yeah.
Horrible. But it was a great movie. I loved it.
What'd you think of the special effect? Because I just remember watching the one scene where they have like all the gremlins and they're coming out of the fog almost or whatever in that room. And I can imagine at the time it'd been like, oh my God, this is terrifying. But for now, in today's standards, it just looks so corny.
I saw that
That's
movie.
kind of what I thought.
Yeah.
I saw that movie at 6 years old.
What'd you think?
I convinced my cousin,
It messed
cooler
you
older
up.
cousin, to take me, and she did. It was awesome.
I did love it, too, before the...
I loved it.
Did you have nightmares?
No,
Okay.
I thought it was great.
Yeah, no, I liked
And
it.
horror movies they're take them or leave them. That's not something that I usually gravitate to, but that was great. I wanted a Gizmo. I got an Ewok instead.
Yeah, those are cool too.
Always remember to turn off the lights, check the cupboards, check under your bed.
Mago Egg Home, responsibility. something like that. I might have just ad-libbed a line. There is a lot of great responsibility. And what does it go back to? It goes back to the grandson not obeying the grandfather.
Yeah.
It's about discipline.
It's about discipline.
Yeah. Lack of.
Yeah. Lack of.
And his singing was so cute.
All right. So what is this? Another 5x5 5-star movie?
I didn't give it a 5, but I gave it a 4. A 4 is still a really good movie.
Okay.
I hear you. 11-1 Nebraska.
Well, because again, the 5 stars are like the Good Will Hunting, the Shawshanks, like.
Understood.
I mean, if we were doing the last segment, I would have said best case scenario was 3 stars out of 5, and worst case would have been 1.
For me? For
this movie? Yeah.
Oh, I really liked
I'm
it.
surprised.
Don't start poo-pooing on the movie.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Oh no, I liked it.
No, he thought it was like a really, really bad one.
You don't like the Gremlins?
I thought it was fine.
He's being really nice to you.
I would probably give
That's
it.
not what he's saying in the office.
I'd give it a 2.5 stars probably.
Wow.
Yeah, he's not a fan.
I actually really like this movie.
Yeah,
But
he said that anybody that likes this movie, that tells you a lot about that individual.
Oh.
I did not say that.
I thought that's what you did say.
Well, that's
Is it not?
disappointing.
No, it was just the idea that we were trying to give. You've had very good movies this year, and we were
I didn't think
hoping
this
that
was a
maybe
bad
this one
movie.
you wouldn't have been such a big fan of.
You know, the bathroom buddy had a toothbrush.
That's,
That thing was awesome. The Bathroom Buddy.
The bathroom buddy.
What would you guys give the movie?
I mean, I would not put it as one of the best movies I've ever seen, but
No.
I wouldn't say that.
I'd go
it
4.25 stars.
Yeah, I
I
think
would
4.
not go that high.
man.
Really? You want to go
But-
4?
A lot of that was one of the first movies that I can remember
So
seeing.
nostalgia plays
Yes.
a part. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the
liked
fact
it.
that my mom thought I was going to see Neverending Story, and I was able to negotiate and talk to my older cousin into taking me into Gremlins.
I understand.
I saw Neverending Story later.
Well, again, part of it was I would pay to go back in time and just witness being in a movie theater, watching all these families.
No, I
bring
told you
their kids
before. I
in.
mean, there was
I think that would be cinema.
There was no internet. There was
Right.
no, basically, you saw a commercial. Oh, yeah, let's take our kids to go see this. And you go take them, and the kids are petrified.
And Gizmo
because-
was so cute.
I know. I'd like an AI or just kind of like the conspiracy with the birds and the government. I would like one of those of a Mogwai, preferably Gizmo.
Yeah.
So next week, I'm sure she's going to love this one too. This is the summer of Molly loving every movie. Lost Boys.
This is so fun for me.
Yeah,
What's wrong with me liking every movie?
nothing. It's
Mm-mm.
great. It's fantastic.
Lost Boys.
47.9% of the audience voted Lost Boys.
Can't vote for them.
You're not in charge of this moving forward.
I,
This Landrum will have to take control of this. 'Cause
please do.
This is turned into a fiasco.
Is Lost Boys a bad movie?
This is what this has become.
I'll be honest with you, Molly. I would give Lost Boys a 1 star. I think it's a terrible movie.
Great. Looking forward to it.
But I know there's a lot of people that like it though.
Molly seems to find a lot of good in a lot of things.
Thanks, Pat.
That's a compliment.
No, I know I did.
That's
yeah.
people.
I
That's
do.
movies.
I think
that's
we're going to go
football
subtitles
teams.
for our next one.
Yeah. How about,
Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon.
yeah, how about like a foreign film? Like, let's give her 4 foreign films. Have to watch and read subtitles.
Yes.
Sorry, I like to find the good in things.
And that's a really positive thing with your
I have
personality.
a positive outlook on life.
But that's going to make these more impressive. Is hopefully the movies get worse if you still find positives in them. Like I'm going to be genuinely impressed.
Yeah.
Okay.
We will take your phone calls, 1-800-239-WJOX. Evie Van Pelt joins us at 1 o'clock from the Rebel Walk. We'll give us her thoughts on the ceiling for Ole Miss, the basement for the Rebels for 2025. All that straight ahead on Jox.
12:53 man front, Evie Van Pelt talking Ole Miss at the top of the hour. Get to your phone calls as well. We just capped off Molly's movie minute. She reviewed Gremlins. She gave it 4 stars, 4 out of 5. Not too bad. Some of you commenting. We will get to the Jox text line as well as your phone calls. First, let's go to our friend Miles, who's in Mississippi. Hey, Miles, how are you?
Good afternoon, all. Molly, your review of Gremlins was perfect, and I'm going to tell you why.
Thank you.
About saying you wanted to go back in time. See, that was me. At the age of 4, and my sister and cousin were 2-year-olds, my aunt and mother took us to see Gremlins, thinking it was going to be a cute children's movie. We got a kick out of it. We love it. We loved all the demented stuff. But my aunt and mother, they didn't think it was so great. But to this day, my cousin still talks about the gremlin who flashes Phoebe Cates in the when he opens up the trench coat. Yeah, she still talks about that. But Gremlins is the reason the PG-13 rating exists. See, there was no PG-13 back then. It was PG.
Well, I mean, that would make sense for this movie.
Yeah, that's why there was no PG-13, so everybody was going to a PG movie, and they thought it was safe. Now, y'all, I am so glad that Masters of the Universe did not win this week's poll. To show you how bad that film is, Sly Stallone visited the set, and when he saw that Dolph Lundgren was playing He-Man, he looked at the crew and said, "You gave that guy lines?" Y'all,
I'd break
really
you.
quick, I'm going to go back to the poll from the other day about officiating. And this is something y'all are much more qualified to talk about than I am. That's why I'm asking. I know college basketball finished first, college football finished second. With some of the subjectivity of some of these calls, like holding or the 3-yard lineman downfield, that's really tough to catch. Are officials put in impossible positions sometimes? Sometimes
I think they are. You only have so many officials, and there's so many different angles. I mean, think about this, Miles. How many different angles we have for replay reviews, and how still at times they didn't get that particular angle that they needed because there was an obstruction from player, defender, pylon, whatever.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. I feel bad for those guys sometimes, even when I get mad. Y'all, I'm going to text you on your text line a link to a documentary about the film company that made Masters of the Universe. It was called Canon Films, and they intentionally made. They're a couple of Israeli guys, and they intentionally made really cheap films with a lot of explosions and naked people just to get people into the theater. I mean, that was literally what they did. They would cast Playboy playmates. A lot of Chuck Norris 80s movies were Canon films. But the documentary is unbelievable.
Well, going back to Masters of the Universe, Miles, I had the action figures. Yeah. I had Castle of Grayskull. I had He-Man, whatever, but it was never a watch for me as far as cartoon, and I think I did see the movie, but
yeah, it was now Skeletor was played by Frank Langella. He's an incredible actor. But yeah, I was all into He-Man and the cartoons and all that. I watched it religiously. But yeah, that if she would have had to watch that, that would have scarred Molly for life. Much worse than a Nebraska season.
The female equivalent was She-Ra, right? Of He-Man?
I think so, something like that.
Yeah.
It was something. Courtney Cox was in that movie.
Yep. She was.
Courtney Cox was, yeah. Woof. Y'all, thank you for your time. Y'all have a good one.
Thank you, Miles. Appreciate it. Birmingham's own, Courtney Cox. Quickly, let's go to Mad Bama. Hey, Mad Bama, got about a minute.
Hey, real quick. Thought it was this first time I've called, but I just wanted to call. I think Molly has been a great asset to y'all's program, and thought it's about time y'all give her some billing now. 3-man front, Molly doesn't sound as good as Molly in the 3-man front. So,
there you go.
Just a suggestion. But one thing I did want to say real quick, when y'all are considering movies, I don't know if any of y'all have seen it, but What About Bob?
Yeah.
He would like that one, and I think it would get her top rating ever.
Mashed potatoes and gravy, Marie.
What now?
Mashed potatoes and gravy, Marie. That was a line from What About Bob? Richard Dreyfuss, right? Bill Murray?
Bill Murray and Richard Dreyfuss, yes.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a good one.
Get that one on your list for her to watch, if you will.
We'll add it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mad Bama. You call anytime. We appreciate it. Evie Van Pelt, the Ole Miss beat. Some people thinking Ole Miss is going to go 15-0. Not in this room. Is Evie one of those people? We'll find out as we continue. Hour number 4, much anticipated 3-man front on a Thursday on Jox.
It is hour number 4. We will continue to talk about the upcoming college football season. Evie Van Pelt from the Rebel Walk. She will join us momentarily here on Three Man Front. So many of our listeners have taken advantage of the free roof inspection at Abide Roofing. There's no strings attached. There's no pressure. They just want to give you an honest look at what's going on up there on top of your roof. Do what I did a couple years ago. I had some issues. I noticed that there were some loose shingles. I had Travis Lloyd from Abide Roofing come to my house. He did a look on top of my roof, spent a couple hours up there, and came down and said, hey, you've got some other problems. Have you seen anything in your attic? We got in the attic. We saw that had some leaking there, which ultimately led to some problems in my kitchen. So I called Travis back, and he took care of it. Got a brand new roof on top of my house, dealt with my insurance company. Call Abide Roofing today, 205-922-7134. Go to their website, abideroof.com. Their outstanding local roofing team. They took care of me. They can take care of you. They are bonded. They are, I trust, 100% insured. They're the real deal. So give them a call today. That is 205-922-7134 or abideroof.com.
Evie Van Pelt, Rebel Walk, and Ole Miss football. Everything really Ole Miss. Joining us now on the Higginbotham Hotline. Evie, how are you?
I'm doing great. I'm excited to be here. Thank you.
We're so excited. We were seeing if you were as optimistic as our friends at CBS Sports about Ole Miss and trying to play out their best case scenario as far as wins and losses versus their floor. Biggest question I have is Austin sent. Well, this is the biggest question, and obviously it's a quarterback losing a guy like Jackson Dart, who had great knowledge of the offense, had that SEC experience. Austin Simmons, he's certainly talented, but for me, as Austin Simmons goes, the Rebels go in 2025. What says Evie Van Pelt?
You know what? I have said that exact same quote. So great minds think alike.
Yes.
I definitely agree with you. As Austin goes, so go the Rebels. And I think he's been there. He's had, a couple of seasons to learn under Jackson Dart. I don't underestimate that. He's a really bright kid. Did y'all know he graduated in May from
Did he
Ole Miss?
really? Wow.
He did. He graduated at 19. So, which is crazy because remember, 2025 is when he was originally supposed to graduate from high school. So, and then he reclassified to 2023.
Are we talking Mensa here? Like genius level?
Yes, I think so. I had some skeptical Aggie friends tell me when Ole Miss first got him, oh, yeah, he graduated 2 years early, but, making every excuse in the book for why that wasn't a big deal. Well, yeah, he's graduated from college now. So
Amazing.
I think, he's plenty smart and will be working on his master's and, he may have a doctorate, but for long, so really bright kid. So I guess where I was headed with that is he's been studying under Dart for 2 years, 2 years in Kiffin's system and Weiss's system. And if you go back to that, what all Rebels go back to is, well, you remember what he did against Georgia. When he came in that Georgia game, what was really telling to me was that Lane Kiffin told him, we ain't changing the playbook. You got the full playbook here. So we're not, dumbing it down or whatever because you haven't been the starter. So I felt like, Lane had that much confidence in him. I think, Ole Miss is sitting pretty.
Well, it was amazing last year, Evie, watching and looking every single day during the transfer portal. I'm not talking about going into this season, but last season, just the work that Lane Kiffin did out of the transfer portal. I think that's what shocked many of us when Ole Miss did not put themselves in a position to play for the college football playoff is because of the transfer portal and the roster that you had last year. Now, this year, Ole Miss did not finish number 1 in the recruiting rankings, but they did finish number 4, according to 247, in those transfer portal rankings. But from that specific category, are there any specific players that kind of jump out to you that could be real difference makers for this Ole Miss team out of the transfer portal for 2025?
Well, I tell you what, I think from the get-go, we always, everybody likes to talk about the offense and the wide receivers. And I think, Ole Miss picked up in the portal some really solid players. They got Dejon Stribling, they got Harrison Wallace III. And I think those guys are going to be key pieces to the puzzle moving forward. Wide receiver. They also got Caleb Odom, from Alabama, and I think that's a big 6'4" receiver that I think is going to do big things with. They've got Caleb Cunningham coming in. He's a freshman, 5-star. But in terms of transfers, I really am eager to see that. I'm eager to see Deshaun Womack, a big defensive lineman that they got from LSU. So I think they really, as cliche as it sounds, I think they filled a lot of, areas of need. They also, Jalen Braxton, a DB from Arkansas, along with, they got several people from Arkansas. I think we talked about that before. Tight end Luke Hass from Arkansas. They expect big things from him, as well as Patrick Kudus, an offensive lineman. So, 4th overall in the portal. And you're right. Last year coming in, at this point last season, so many big names. And, just didn't quite work out thanks to that Kentucky game and that Florida game.
Evie, the Ole Miss defense has really come a long way, especially going back just a few years when we knew that they could score. The offense wasn't going to be a problem, but stopping people was a problem. That changed even prior to the arrival of Pete Golding. Last year, major step forward. Several losses on the defensive side of the ball. But again, transfer portal has been kind to Lane Kiffin and the Rebels. Who are some of the guys that we need to be looking for as impact guys that maybe come over in the offseason through the transfer portal?
Well, I definitely think, like we talked about, Deshaun Womack. I think he's going to be one to keep an eye out. That defensive line, having to replace Nolan Pegues, Ivy Umanmielen, that's big. But I tell you what, one transfer, Princely's brother, Prince Will Umanmielen from Nebraska, and then back to Womack. He was from LSU. He was a former 5-star edge rusher. So I think those guys are going to be really important for that defensive line. And then in the secondary, I think Jalen Braxton, again, I mentioned him from Arkansas, cornerback. I think that they lost some really good cornerbacks. Also, you know what? I think Phil Steele put this guy, he's the only first-team All-SEC player that he has for Ole Miss, and it's a kicker, Lucas Carnero.
Oh, how about that?
Keep an eye on him. He's a Western Kentucky kicker, and I think was Special Teams Player of the Year in his conference last year, and seems to have a lot of confidence. So not that Lane's going for field goals that often, so but you never know, just in case.
He hit at a 95% clip, which he was perfect on extra points at Western Kentucky, but wow, only one miss on field goals. That's pretty good.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty impressive. So we'll see. I don't know if he's going to be, if he'll be a little lonely, in terms of or underworked at Ole Miss, but I'm sure he realizes that Lane tends to go for it a lot. But we'll see. Yeah, Conference USA Special Teams Player of the Year last season.
Evie Van Pelt joins us on the Higginbotham Hotline Higginbotham Hotline from the Rebel Walk, joins us here on Three Man Front. So I wanted to ask you about the grand scheme of Ole Miss in the pecking order of the national college football scene. I've seen Ole Miss, Kelly Ford, who I respect greatly. He does a great job with his rankings. He's got them as a preseason number 10. Lindy's and Athlon's has Ole Miss in the upper teens. Where do you see this Ole Miss team when it all shakes out? Could they be knocking on the door to a potential bid to the college football playoff?
Still had a great season in terms of win-loss, but didn't make the playoffs, and that was obviously the goal. But I definitely, I think, y'all have asked me before, like at SEC Media Days, could I see Ole Miss winning, 10 games, whatever. I absolutely think that this coming season. I think that things are going to look a little bit different, but Lane Kiffin, like you said, he's mastered this portal situation. And so I absolutely think that there's a good shot that they could make the playoffs.
Evie, what's worst case scenario with the schedule that they have?
Yeah, somebody was telling me that I don't know if it was the CBS Sport, whoever it was that had the floor of 6-6. Yeah, I don't, I can't see that. I think again, you've got to look at the Georgia game, the LSU game, and the Oklahoma game are all three key games for me. So honestly, I mean, I think losing 3 conference games for me would probably be the floor. I don't think they lose all 3 of those games. In
Evie,
fact, I think they lose one of them.
okay. I don't know if I've ever asked you this in regards to the college football playoff. What is your personal preference? Are you in line with the Big Ten in regards to them and the SEC getting the 4 automatic qualifiers, or are you now more in the camp of what it seems like most SEC coaches, the 5+11?
Well, I guess I fall into pretty much the Lane Kiffin way of looking at it, and I think he kind of said, why don't we take, what I guess if you say the 16 best,
Yeah.
and then have one play 16, 2 play 15. I mean, I'm kind of in that ballpark. I mean, I don't like all the way it was seeded last year was silly.
That was ridiculous.
Let's have CFP rankings where you're ranked here, but then you're seeded this. That was, I think, hopefully that was enough of a colossal failure that we won't ever have to look at that again. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I really do wish we could take the final, whether it's 12, 14, 16, whatever, and just say, okay, here's the final rankings 1 through whatever, and there you go, and let's just seed you that way.
And listen,
Is that too simple?
No, it's not. It's brilliant. The biggest issue is what we've all said last year was the fact that there's not enough transparency, and we're not really sure exactly the strength of schedule and that metric. That's what Greg Sankey's got a problem with, because I think we all agree, and we've covered this conference for a long time. Most years, the SEC, under that format that Lane Kiffin would like to endorse, 16 teams, SEC is probably going to get at least 5 in, which would be more than the 4 automatic qualifiers that the Big Ten, but that's all based on the strength of schedule. So we'll wait and see what happens. Well, listen, we're looking forward to catching up with you in Atlanta. I think our schedules are going to, Conrad was just telling us when you're getting in, so it appears that they will overlap. So the last couple we have not lined up properly where we've seen each other and been able to visit on the radio show, but that is going to be taken care of in a couple weeks. So we look forward to catching up.
I'm looking forward to it. And we do have one article on our site if folks want to go find it, by David Walker, Divided We Stand, the case for restoring college football divisions. And he talks all about seeding and strength of schedule.
Oh,
and,
nice.
That's, it's interesting, an interesting way to look at it.
No, that's fantastic. Yeah, the Rebel Walk, go to that site and you can access David Walker's article. That is a must read. Evie, always a pleasure. Stay cool out in the wonderful world of the great state of Texas, and we will see you in Atlanta in a couple weeks.
I'm looking forward to it. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Evie.
Thanks, Evie.
That is Evie Van Pelt joining us on the Higginbotham Hotline, your one-source solution for insurance, financial, and HR services.
Well, most people, you're looking for a cheat code, right? In life, and certain things you like to do it the old-fashioned way. Well, I got one that's FDA approved for you. You're going to get results because I've gotten results, and so many other Jox listeners have as well. It's Mandu Electrical Muscle Stimulation Fitness, located in downtown Homewood. Wonderful folks. Your first visit is free, and right now through the month of July, all the way through July 4th, that's the end of next week, you're going to get 10% off your first month's subscription to Mandu. Mandu, Electrical Muscle Stimulation Fitness. Go into Mandu. They put you in a suit. They hook you up to a machine that has cables running to that suit, and it sends electric pulses to various muscle groups. 15 minutes. It's a 15-minute workout, the equivalent to 6 hours in a gym. Mandu in downtown Homewood. MANDUU.com. Paul and the gang, they're going to be there to help you, walk you through it. Try it. I can almost guarantee you'll like it. I can guarantee you'll get results. Mandu in downtown Homewood. Go and see them today, and always tell them Landrum from Jox sent you.
When we come back on Three Man Front, it appears that the realignment carousel is about to start spinning when it comes to conferences. We'll tell you who's leaving, who's going where, and when. That's next. It appears that conference realignment is about to get up and going again. We've been anticipating this. We'll tell you what schools are looking to leave, and is that going to cause more of an upheaval in some of the lower conferences next here on Three Man Front?
Well, Diamonds Direct, they really live up to their name because there's no middleman, there's no runaround, just incredible diamonds straight from the source. And the price? Honestly, way more reasonable than I expected. You get exactly what you want, and you don't have to empty your savings account to do it. The place is absolutely stunning. It's clean, modern, and bright. Everything sparkles, and it's not just the jewelry. The staff, they truly listen. I told Sasha exactly what I was looking for, what I could spend, and the kind of style that I wanted. Also, right now, they have a pretty amazing deal going on. If you buy an engagement ring, you get the wedding band free. Seriously, a free wedding band. So lucky for you if you're thinking about getting engaged, because why not get a free wedding band with it? So that's our friends over at Diamonds Direct. No extra layers, no nonsense, just quality diamonds.
So the Action Network is reporting that the conference realignment merry-go-round is about to start spinning. in the coming days, according to Brett McMurphy, Texas State will leave the Sun Belt for the Pac-12. We've been anticipating that, in which they will pay $5 million to leave the Sun Belt. If they wait till after the July 1st deadline, it would be $10 million. So look for Texas State, according to the Action Network. They will make it official, and they will leave for the Pac-12. Louisiana Tech is going to leave the Conference USA, and they're going to head to the Sun Belt. So they will now take the place of Texas State, which is leaving to the Pac-12. So what's next for Conference USA? Well, according to Brett McMurphy, CUSA in 2026 will remain at 10 schools. So it looks like they're going to wait it out a little while before they make any type of decisions on expansion for themselves. So the domino is now going to be affecting the non-Power 4 leagues, as Texas State will make the jump to the Pac-12, Louisiana Tech leaving Conference USA for the Sun Belt, and then that will leave the CUSA conference to stay at 10 for the foreseeable future.
I know that'll make Louisiana Tech officials and fans happy because that's where they wanted to go, but I see the reason why they weren't initially invited, and that was a lot of, I guess, in the eyes of the Sun Belt, that would have been redundancy.
You think about this a couple of years ago where Louisiana Tech, and you hated it for them, but let's just be honest, it needed to happen, that they got left out of the AAC. You know, when the AAC lost the teams to the Big 12, the AAC evaluated and they saw the need for the North Texas, UTSA, obviously UAB, those schools. They made the move from Conference USA to the American Athletic Conference, but Louisiana Tech was left behind. And so they had to remake the Conference USA, in which Jacksonville State became a member of Conference USA. And so now you have a situation where Louisiana Tech believes that the Sun Belt, which we would agree is a step up from the conference that they currently were in. So that is what is going to happen in 2026 for Louisiana Tech.
The carousel is always fun.
It's like the portal.
It's always open. It's always going.
Just like a golf course for Hugh Freeze. It's always open.
The Jox text line is open. We'll get to some of your texts. 205-834-9450. Going back to Gremlins, Molly. She gave it high marks on her Molly's Movie Minute. This one reads, my grandmother took me and my brother to watch Gremlins when we were kids. She had a chair like the one that went through the roof. And after watching that, she never used that chair again.
Oh, wow.
What?
But me and my brother kept trying to figure out how to speed it up. Of course she did.
I had a family member that had one of those growing up, and it was awesome when I was 7.
And you would ride it?
Yeah.
Of course he would.
Yeah, of course.
I would have ridden it.
Did you use their toothbrush when you were in their house?
No, because they weren't paying me to do it.
Oh.
I don't do that stuff for free.
Michael says, fun fact, Red Dawn was the first ever PG-13 movie.
I tell you what,
Very cool.
Seeing that movie for the first time, that made you think about some things.
Yeah. Yeah, it did.
That was scary.
Is that the one about where it's like a hypothetical where
Ruskies.
Russia invades the United States or something?
Russia and Cuba.
And Cuba,
Oh.
okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they come parachuting in, and the Wolverines have to go underground.
The Michigan football team?
Yes. Led by Ward Manuel. This one coming in from the state of Georgia. May I please suggest 3 films to put in the rotation for Molly to see? Number 1, Harlem Nights, with the 3 icons of comedy and a great cast.
That was a good movie.
Shot off my pinky toe. Number 2, Silverado. Great Western with another great cast. Young Kevin Costner, Danny Glover.
Okay.
Number 3, The Blues Brothers. Great movie and cast. Daily listener. The crew is awesome. We appreciate you, man.
We'll get those listed.
Blues Brothers would be a good one. It's a good movie.
Tay said, just wanted to say go Cubs. Our recommendation, I think Molly should watch Sling Blade.
What's that?
Marshmallow biscuit.
The only problem with that is because Paige and I wanted to watch this movie a couple of months ago because I haven't seen it in a long, long, long time.
Mm-hmm.
This must be the one movie that doesn't exist on any streaming service.
Oh, really?
You have to own a physical copy of the movie. It's not. You can't rent it. It's not on Netflix or anything. It's impossible to find.
That's interesting.
I know.
Hmm.
That would be a good one to get Molly's reaction to, though.
I did not realize this.
Yeah, it's not available on anything.
Yeah, I don't know why, but
Oh, not that.
You
This
can't
next
buy
text.
like you can't buy it. Like if
well, I mean,
have
you
a
could buy
DVD.
you could buy like the DVD on Amazon, but it's upcharged because hard to find now.
A DVD?
Do you know what that is?
No. I'm kidding.
Here's the next text. Let Molly know the female lead in Lost Boys is now a billionaire and owns the Atlanta Hawks. Did not realize
Wow.
that, but they are correct. Jamie Gertz.
She owns the Atlanta Hawks? Wow. That's wild. Okay.
Well, they have owners. Jamie Gertz, Tony Wrestler is what this says. Theo Wrestler. Another wrestler and another wrestler. And that's Ressler.
Well, that's crazy. Huh.
So Wrestler married Jamie Gertz. His net worth was estimated at $11.3 billion.
That'll work. It's pretty high.
Cowboy says, I was an extra in the movie Blue Sky. Is this Cowboy that we talked to and hung out with last night?
Yeah, I think
Cigar
so.
Cowboy?
Mm-hmm. Think so.
Alan says, worst movie, Norbit or Napoleon Dynamite?
Oh, no. Napoleon Dynamite's a good movie.
I like Napoleon Dynamite.
Yes. I understand why people don't like it, but I do think it's a hilarious
As a
movie.
kid, I loved that movie.
It's so fun.
I used to watch it with my brother all the time.
Uncle Rico is just so good.
Vicky says, tell Molly to watch Trading Places. I love Trading Places.
Trading Places.
Bobby says, I said it a few weeks ago, and I'll say it again. With that schedule for Nebraska, they're my playoff sleeper this year. While the Seedling could be 11-1, still think 10-2 with a win over Michigan.
I like that. I'll take that.
Alabama fan texting in, South Carolina game scares me the most right now. Conrad, you concur?
With where it is in the season, I think it's in a tricky spot. I still think Georgia's going to be the toughest, but South Carolina would be right behind them.
Another friend texting in from the Peachtree State says, what's the over-under on which week Hugh Freeze gets fired? We're not there yet, are we? Jimmy asked if Auburn goes belly up, is their first call to Rhett Lashley. I don't have the energy to even think about that.
Would you call Kenny Dillingham or Rhett Lashley first? I'd probably go Dillingham.
Has Bruce Pearl ever coached football?
Hey, Steven, you've been waiting.
I'm going to go handle this. Steve from Tuscaloosa. Hey, Steve. Oh, he sent us a picture in a Phoebe Cates. Thank you. Molly movie selection. If Molly hasn't seen this movie, I would like to recommend The Outsiders.
I don't think I've seen that.
Did you have to read the book growing in high school or middle school?
I don't recognize
With the
it.
greasers? That'd be a good one if you never saw that.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen that.
And that was not pulling up. Keep the text line open and keep the text coming through. 205-834-9450. We got questions from Pat. We'll try to answer them. Pat Ponder's next. 133, three-man front on a Thursday. Getaway day for some in Major League Baseball. Molly's Tigers continue to dominate. 3-0, they lead the A's in the bottom of the fifth. 3-0 Blue Jays over the Guardians in the top of the fifth. Phillies and Astros, no score. No score between the Rays and the Royals. And Pat's Cardinals, no score with the Cubs. Trying to take what? What would that be, 3 or 4?
3 of 4. Cubs looking for a split. We're looking for 3 of 4.
Speaking of the Cubs. Hey, Don.
Hey, guys. Hey, last night was great. Good seeing you guys as always. A great turnout for that event. I was quite impressed.
Yeah, it was great to see you and so many others.
Absolutely. Hey, did anybody bring a toothbrush? Did he do the toothbrush last night?
No, nobody brought the toothbrush, unfortunately. But there'll be other opportunities.
But hey, oh, yeah. But I tell you what, guys, have you ever had to sit around all day at your house and wait for a cable company to come hook everything up for you? Oh, God.
I don't miss those days, but yes, I think we've all been there, right?
Okay. Well, I tell you what, Landrum, I was thinking about you when I had to call them up to add channels and everything. I'm not going to mention the company because I don't know if they're an advertiser with y'all or not, but they gave me everything. They gave me Paramount Plus. They got me Hulu. They got me Disney Plus. They got me ESPN Plus. All part of the package.
How long do you have it? Is it a 3-month thing or is it for a year?
No, 2 years.
2 years?
Yes, sir.
Wow. Are you locked into that contract?
No. Actually, after it's over, I got a chance. I can. The 2 years I'm locked in. Yes.
Sounds like you're set.
But yes, sir. But I talked to Jamie about this morning. Pat, Landrum, and Molly on the Auburn recruiting thing, and I know. Listen, my coach should not be playing golf the last week of the recruiting, but here, and I think Jeffrey Lee told you guys this the other night. They got to keep their NIL money. They can't tell the recruit how much they're going to give them yet because they got to try to keep the guys that want to stay. Everything, and I mean, and we got Cam Coleman, we got Jackson Arnold, we got Singleton. We're not really a lot of these guys will want to stay, and then we got to make sure that we keep them happy before we take care of the high school kids. I don't know if y'all agree with me or disagree with me on that.
No, Jeffrey, he threw out that theory. Don, thank you for the phone call. Sorry, we've got to run. Yeah, that's something he threw out. I haven't heard that from any other programs, but that could be going on everywhere. So if that's the case, that's good news for Auburn fans, and you know what you have by December, and then maybe some of those deals for some of these highly touted prospects, very lucrative. We see that happen all the time. It's time for 5 questions from Pat. This is Pat Ponders.
I want to know what you're thinking. Tell me what's on your mind.
It's time for Pat Ponders.
Brought to you each and every day by Courtesy GMC and Trust. We'll get by and see those fine folks. Josh Gargis, Drew Lally, just do an incredible job. And they've got 9 acres of inventory for you to peruse, whether it's a brand new GMC that's got the best deals you're going to find not only in Central Alabama, but the entire Southeast. Go by and see them, or you can visit them online at courtesybirmingham.com for the very latest deals, and whether it's service as well. I got some new tires put on my wife's car and got an oil change, all that done right there in the service department at Courtesy GMC. All right, question number 1. A lot of talk about this Hugh Freeze playing golf, that kind of stuff. So if you were a head coach in the Southeastern Conference in football, what would be your hobby in the off season to decompress?
It would definitely be golf for me. Because it's such a limited. I mean, the way I view it, maybe other coaches do. It's such a limited off season because those guys are constantly working the phones, going and seeing people. You got events, but yeah, it'd be golf.
I'd probably go sports gambling. That'd be my hobby.
Just on the NFL, though, or professional sports.
Yeah. No, I mean, in all seriousness, I mean, my hobby, I guess golf would be a a very easy one, but I would think you'd probably have somewhere you could retire on a lake or the beach or something. I'd want to go and just sit outside, relax, decompress, somewhere warm.
I think golf is a good answer, and I think depending on where I was a coach at / what state I would live, I love to hike, find a nice trail somewhere and spend some time in nature with the outdoors.
All right, question number 2. On this date in 1916, the Cleveland Indians became the first Major League Baseball team to experiment with numbers on their baseball jerseys in one game. The idea of putting numbers on uniforms was a subject of debate at the time. Players reportedly felt like it was not a professional look to have numbers on your uniform, and some owners were hesitant due to the associated costs of sewing numbers on their jerseys. So numbers did not become a fixture in Major League Baseball for another 13 years. 1929 was the first year that numbers showed up uniformly in Major League Baseball. So it got me thinking, and this is for every sport. And I understand that you could pick a different number for different sports because you might want to play line in the NFL and you might want to play shortstop in baseball and have a completely different set of numbers. But if you were to play in each of the major leagues, the NFL, Major League Baseball, or NBA, what would your number be?
23.
Across the board.
Across the board.
You
Solid
do
number.
like LeBron. That's so nice of you.
Oh, is he 23?
Not anymore. He's 6 now.
It's 23. I love the way it fits my eye. 23 is a solid number.
It's a good one. 13. That would be mine. For all sports. That's my favorite number. Always has been.
I'd probably go 3 because I was born on the 3rd. I just like the number 3.
Look at that.
So
23,
for all
13,
sports.
and 3.
So for all sports.
Yeah.
Okay.
Dale Murphy, Dwayne Wade.
All right. Next question.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. Dale Earnhardt.
I was about to say Junior was 8, right?
That's right.
I know the answer Conrad's going to give.
Yes.
Waffle stopping.
Oh, no. Not again.
Would you take a job you hate for double your salary?
No.
No,
No.
because I think we could all probably do that. At certain
It'll
times
break-
in our life, we could have done
yeah.
that.
Yeah.
So, no.
I'm going to say no because I don't want to be miserable.
Yeah.
Like, I'd rather make less money and be happy. And
Tomorrow is not promised.
Mhm.
We don't have any. You're not guaranteed a certain amount of. No. To me, it's not worth it.
And I don't know about y'all, but I know for me at least, and look, I love working here. It's great, wonderful. Don't want to do anything else. But I know like a lot of my friends, they make more money than me. That's just the reality of it. I am by far the happiest person. Whenever I get together with my friends and they talk about work, all of my friends are miserable because they work very, 9 to 5 corporate jobs and they hate it. And then I'm the one they're like, oh, your job, just sounds so great and you have so much fun. And that's priceless.
When I walk into a place of business and there's offices and it just depends on which one it is, I think, golly, that would be just miserable to come into this every day.
yeah.
I was about to say, I know you've experienced that. I know I've experienced, like, we've had jobs outside of this industry, and you realize how blessed
And
we
I
are to
didn't
do this
didn't
every day.
hate it. I made really good money, but pales in comparison to doing this on a daily
I
basis.
hated mine. Yeah, it was awful.
All right. Question number 4. Have you ever snuck into an event without a ticket, and what was it?
Of course. Used to do it all the time at Oak Mountain Amphitheater. We would jump the fence. That was always fun in high school. Got some stories on that. And then the Braves ticket stub when they were playing. I had to drive some older fraternity brothers over because I was a freshman to the Braves and the Marlins in the NL Division Series, I think it was. And somebody had stubs outside of, and you could, if it was hole punched, you could get back in. So I fashioned a hole punch. Ended up, it was Morton Anderson season tickets behind home plate.
Wow.
Yep.
Great story.
I was sitting near Fred McGriff's parents. And I know that because somebody said, do you know whose seat you're in? No. Morton Anderson, but he left. So
That's great.
I kind of 2 things with this one. So I didn't buy a ticket, and if I couldn't have even bought a ticket in the first place because I was underage. But I snuck into an R-rated movie when I was 15 with my friends, and we didn't buy tickets because we thought, well, if we go up there and it'd be more, it'd
Can
be
I guess the
easier
movie?
to just sneak in.
Showgirls.
No.
Oh.
It was Ted, the first Ted movie.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
But we were 15. We wanted to go see Ted, and so we snuck in, and we weren't going to buy a ticket because we're like, well, they're going to ask for our ID, and so we snuck in anyways, and they found us, and so we went out and we said, okay, well, let's buy a ticket, and we were like, we'll buy a ticket to go see, whatever, the SpongeBob movie, whatever, some kids movie, and they were like, yeah, you're just going to walk right back into the Ted theater, so we're not going to sell you a ticket, and so that was that.
I don't think I have. Sorry, I'm lame. Oh, wait. Well, this doesn't really count, though, because, like, my uniform, like, my dance team uniform was my ticket. But at the Nebraska basketball, like, red and white game my senior year, the concert after the basketball game was Waka Flocka. And I
There
didn't
you
need
go.
a ticket because the guy was like, oh, yeah, you're on dance team. Just, you can go ahead and go. And all of us got
You
front
lied.
row in the pit. It was great.
You lied.
Well, I
You
couldn't
sure
think of
did.
anything, but then I just thought of that.
You ever seen Liar Liar?
No.
That's a great movie, actually. Very good movie. I don't know if this counts because we already bought a ticket to get in, but when I used to go to Six Flags with my church growing up, this is really bad, but instead of buying a flash pass, we figured out that if you had somebody in your group that had like a boot on from like an ankle injury.
I thought you were going to say, yeah, go ahead.
No, but then you could skip to the front of the line of all the rides, and so we would do that. And so instead of buying a flash pass, we would just buy the general admission tickets. And one of my buddies had a foot injury a few years ago, and we would just every year rotate who wore the boot. And
It's wrong.
You got to go to the
That's
front of the
wrong,
line.
but not as bad as I was thinking. You were like pretend that you were blind or
No,
something
no,
like that.
no.
That's today's Pat Ponders, brought to you by Courtesy GMC and Trussell. Visit their online inventory at courtesybirmingham.com.
More of your texts. We will get to those as we continue on a Thursday. Three-man front on Jox. 149, three-man front. Apparently the Cubs have jumped out 1-0, much to Pat's chagrin. We might not hear from Pat again. For those of you watching on Jox TV, I would say something, but there's just no way he's going to right now. He has fashioned himself leaning back in the chair, full Nelson type of pose, surrender cobra. That was it. Hope he's okay.
This is where we remind Pat that last night he said he would be happy with a split.
This is true.
His words, not ours.
Text line is open, 205-834-9450. Fat Joe texting into the show. It was good to see him on Tuesday. Always is. He says, Conrad, you're killing me. My favorite number is 13 also. Killing him like he doesn't want to have his favorite number of 13. My dad liked 13.
Yep, Alex Rodriguez, man. It's always my favorite number.
CJ says Molly needs to watch the movie Radio. That's good.
It's a sad movie.
It's not scary.
It's a good movie.
Josh says I would wear number 88 in all sports to honor Coach and his phrase 88 and out the gate. 88's a cool number.
It is. Mm-hmm.
You know, another number I like would be half of 88, 44.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Brian Bosworth.
What do you think about people wearing the number 0? Does that bother you?
Doesn't bother me as much as it used to.
I know some people just hate the idea of wearing the number 0.
For some reason, I cannot stand the number 6 on a jersey.
That's what number I wore growing up.
I don't know why.
Because our coach wouldn't let us pick 13 because it was bad luck, so I had to be number 6.
Like 8 is good. I love the number 8. 7, perfect. But 6,
fine then. To each their own.
Just what fits
I think
your eye.
23 is a stupid number.
Well,
I'm just kidding.
Was that a shot at Michael Harris?
No, it was a shot at LeBron, obviously.
And CVH says, I was still hoping for a Clint Eastwood movie option for Molly's Movie Minute. Outlaw Josie Wells, Dirty Harry, $1 Million Baby, Gran Torino. Excellent options. Gran Torino's good.
That's a very good one.
I mean, those are all good movies. All right.
Never seen $1 Million Baby, but I've heard good things about it.
We've heard a lot of good things. This is something that, it just depends on who you are. You may view it as good. You may view it as bad. This is the worst thing / maybe best thing that Conrad has seen.
This is the worst thing I've seen.
Been in quarantine and I need to get out and party. Woo! What's better than beach and a few drinks and Jeeps? Man, getting better than that. Law enforcement's definitely made their visibility and made people chill out and not be as crazy. The cops are doing their job as long as they don't be mean to people who are actually being innocent. Then I'm all gravy, baby.
Well, like Landrum said, I think this is refreshing because normally we just have bad news, and now we have news, like you said, Landrum, that some people will probably find very entertaining and some people will maybe not be a big fan of. But it's not super depressing news like we had yesterday or anything.
Just on the premise, the idea, I think it's brilliant. Go ahead.
So we're going to go to the state of Florida. I'm sure many of you have already heard at least rumblings about this. But in the state of Florida, political leaders as well as Donald Trump's administration are looking to move forward with a new detention facility that would be located on a remote site on a swampy island in the Everglades, and it would be used to hold undocumented migrants awaiting deportation. So this new site has already had a nickname given to it, and that is Alligator Alcatraz. So the idea of this is that if anybody were to be able to escape from the facility, you're in the Everglades, and the only thing that you have out there is alligators, snakes, other venomous creatures, and that's it.
No matter
That's
who,
your
all
option.
right, so no matter, just hear me out, no matter who it's housing, if this was just a detention center for criminals that are here and they're documented and they're legal, but they've committed crimes, I think it's a great use of the land. You've already got a runway right next to it because you got the airport, old airport that's right there. Go ahead.
Well, okay, so just some details on this alligator Alcatraz. So it says that the idea would that they would be able to hold hundreds of detainees in the coming days through a partnership with the federal government providing some funding. They will then be able to add additional units over the coming months. The idea would be that ultimately you would be able to get up to a capacity of roughly 5,000. Is what the goal would be for the project. It says the facility is projected to cost roughly $450 million a year with funding coming from FEMA. And a quote on it says, under President Trump's leadership, we are working at turbo speed on cost-effective and innovative ways to deliver on the American people's mandate for mass deportations of criminal illegal aliens.
You buy the ticket for the airboat tour. Do you ask, hey, do we get to go by Alcatraz?
I think you'd sell a lot of tickets.
You would. You certainly would. Appreciate all of you joining us. Your interaction is appreciated every single day. All of our guests, find it, joxfm.com, and the Three Man Front podcast. All of us to all of you, have a great rest of your Thursday. God is great. Paul Feinbaum.